Hey, what's up, everybody? RatX here, the one from 72, and there's only one more day left in this year, and I'm gonna try to pump out 2 or 3 more videos, and then that'll be it. So this video that you're about to watch now is just a recap of the entire year of interviews. So just not interviews with people just talking about themselves, but the interviews talking about stuff that has to do with me and them, or just me, like my character or the type of person I am. It has my ex-wife is in there, who was there to see the footprints in the school back in 2017 and the marks on the wall. She talks about what that she investigated too, and it just freaked her out, the same day, that it happened. She gives her, complete testimony. 1010's testimonies on here, where me and her went out to Utah, and she talks about her experiences when we went out to Utah and stuff like that. And as well, I think she also talks about in this video, I didn't really go and rewatch it yet, but I'm pretty sure she talks about in this video too about how we're like connected, telepathy and stuff, just all kinds of stuff. And she also talks about, we both talk on an interview in this one on the Truth Quest channel with Aaron Moriarty. I have a hard time saying his last name, but we talk about the Gatekeeper and stuff, which, by the way, I do have the Gatekeeper's interviews. I have actually 2. I have one where the 3 of us were sitting out in Utah, not far from where the cave is, where the portal is, right before we went to the portal. And we did a whole interview with the 3 of us, just in case something was to happen and we all disappeared. So we wanted to leave behind, their testimony of, hey, look, we were here and this is what we were doing. So literally that was a real thing that happened. We did that interview, and I have that. And I also have an interview of just the Gatekeeper afterwards, after all that happened, where she talks about how there was the bump on her car, and stuff like what I told you about what happened when I was out there too. And she talks about, the whole thing with the portal and us doing the whole thing with the portal. And I was going to post her stuff up, and what I was going to do is I was going to slow down the audio so it made her voice sound more heavier, so you couldn't tell really who it was. And then I was going to put over top of that the regular recording with it like a little bit off, so that way it would really kind of jumble the sound, so you wouldn't really know who she is, to kind of still protect her privacy. But I decided against sharing any of the stuff from her. Look, I don't have anything against her or anything against people who are in the government, CIA, NSA, WISE, or anything like that. There are people who think that they're doing good things, even though in the end it usually ends up being evil. Just like people, like when Oppenheimer, helped make the atomic bomb. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's all the time in the government. It's just what they do. There's people that, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? And you'll also find that, and this is another thing too, that most people who are in the government are Christians. Why? Because that's their easy out. So they can do heinous shit and just say at the end of the day, well, they could just go to church and ask for forgiveness, and hey, they're going to go to heaven because their conscience is clean. It gives them an easy clean out, right? Like there's no, they don't have to go to bed at night, with all the, the awful things that they've done to people, because God gives them an out. That's the reason why also you find, preachers on the battlefield, and you find preachers in prisons. I'll let you sit and think about that. So anyhow, yeah, I don't have anything against the Gatekeeper, but and I know what I know. But anyhow, I'm not gonna share the information because, she did ask me to keep her stuff private, which was kind of weird, because she asked for me to film her testimony, but yet she wanted me to keep it private, that's just really. So anyhow, I'm gonna get past that. So the other interviews that are in here is the one from the Cambodian Dragon Healer. I have him in there. I have the one from Cappy, the Capricorn lady. I have her in here. And I also have my boss, who is German, who right before I went out to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, I found out that she actually grew up on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and her ex-husband was a colonel. I think he was a colonel, something like that, like a colonel or something, a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force at Wright-Patterson Air Base. And if you don't know the history of that, you need to go back and watch all the videos that all these interviews are connected to. and that will give you the complete story of it. I just pretty much just cut things up and just put it in it, try to narrow it down to get it at least under 2.5 hours if I could. Now, I didn't add in all the other interviews throughout the year, like, you know, where I went to Mothman and all that stuff, because those people don't, you know, their interviews and on all that stuff, and these other interviews that I had, like with Alcor and stuff, those were all important stuff, but they didn't really have a whole lot to do with, you know, them experiencing stuff with me. So like with the Cambodian healer, we had experience together. So that's the reason why I put him in there. And everybody else, it's all experiences that I've had with them together. So that's what I shared in this video. But I will be pushing out another video. Hopefully I'll get it done. It's a lot of work, but it probably won't be tonight, but most likely tomorrow I'm going to be pushing out, which is the end of the year. So I'll be pushing out 2 videos. The main big one that I'm going to push out for a video, well, actually I got a couple of things I want to get done. I want to analyze a David Icke video, and I want to analyze a Lou Alessandro video as well. But the next big one that I'm going to try to get done is going to be a recap of the entire year of me going on Truth Quest, right? And showing how, like, I got from, you know, the Alcor and found out I was, you know, part of the Alcor Star and becoming an Alcor Star child and be in Draconian and all this stuff, and just showing all those things. So it's a lot of work. I got a lot of stuff ahead of me to get done with all that, and having to work and having people, you know, ask me to come do this or that or whatever. So yep, it's gonna be a lot of work, but I'm gonna try to get all this stuff done, you know, try to get, you know, a lot of stuff out tonight and this stuff out tomorrow, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the end of the ride. So with that, enjoy the rest of the time that you have left.
I am broadcasting on all AM frequencies. I will be at the South Street Seaport every day at midday when the sun is highest in the sky. If you are out there, if anyone is out there, I can provide food, I can provide shelter, I can provide security. If there's anybody out there, anybody, please, you are not alone.
So this is 1010, and I was, when I was talking earlier and I was saying about after you got done watching the video, guys, that she would come on and then she would give her testimony of what happened to her and how her alien experience actually was connected to my experience with the Draconian, and what helped me understand that it was Draconian was because of the connection between me and her that later took place, like literally almost 4 years later. So go ahead, 1010, and talk about everything that happened to you and your alien experience, both experiences too.
Okay. Normally my experiences happened at night when I'm sleeping, but during these particular experiences, I could tell the difference between being asleep and being awake. My first experience was I was in my bed and I went to sleep that night, and what I thought was a dream, but it seemed too real. I was laying on a mat in a room, and catty corner from me I could see someone laying down, some type of entity on top of them, and this entity had a tail. Before I would say that what was encasing this person was ribs, it looked like ribs. I really didn't know how to explain what I saw, because it's something I'd never seen before, but it was actually wings, was what I was looking at. So while I'm looking at this person, initially, like I said, I was lying flat, and then I was standing up, and there was another entity standing next to me. I didn't feel intimidated or scared or anything like that, but when I first was watching this person, I guess, be overtaken by this entity, it was a lot to take in. I had a lot of mixed feelings about it, because at first I just didn't know what I was looking at.
So you said you were laying there on this floor, and then you looked over and you saw this other being on top of a human, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't explain this before in my videos, but I'm going to go ahead and say this now, because most people may not know this, besides people who have been in my school, that school always had one light on. So there was always, where I slept at, there was always a light that was it was dim, but it was a light because I had those halogen lights in the ceiling. So there was always one light on. So when you looked over there, it couldn't have been a completely dark room, right? Because you wouldn't have been able to see. And
right.
And anybody who knows that school and knows anything, and people who are listening now who know me and know my school, they know that there's always that light on, which is another thing too, that when you're saying, hey, you were in this room, there's a person, you were laying down, and then there's a person who's laying down on the floor, and there was a being on top of them, you could see them. Well, yeah, there was a light on in my school. So when you first started telling me about your alien experience, because when we first started talking, and you said you felt like you had some kind of connections to me. We were trying to figure it out, but it really wasn't like a urgent thing. It just was over like the period of a few weeks. We started really piecing things together, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you said that this thing had a tail, right?" And then, and my reaction was big to that, right? It was like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah, because it explained what those marks on the door frame were and on the inside of the wall, because I never could understand what those marks were until you said it was a tail. I always thought it was maybe a finger or a horn, but none of those things made sense, but the tail makes sense. And then you said that it looked like there was ribs encased around the person.
Right.
And that kind of wigged you out, freaked you out a little bit, right? So talk about that. Talk about how bizarre it kind of looked, and talk about what the tail was actually doing.
It looked like the tail was touching this person's head. Whatever it was doing to me, it looked very invasive, and it felt very invasive. It's very hard for me to express what I actually saw because I've never seen anything like it before. Looking back on that and the feelings that I had during that time, yeah, I was a little bit frightened, for that person, because my mind is limited and my experiences with this, obviously I have no experience with that. So trying to piece things together and keeping this memory with me, because I knew that it was important, because it felt so real. In the moment when I was standing there with another entity, I never looked over at them, but I felt comfortable with them. And this entity was quite large, but I didn't feel scared or anything standing with them. But I do remember one conversation that we had, X, where...
So when you were laying there, and you said that, it seemed very weird because you saw like these ribs that were encased around the person, and then later on me and you started talking more and started understanding about the draconians and stuff, because I figured it was reptilian because of the footprints in my school. And then when you told me there was a tail that was going, and you said where you just left off as you were talking about how the tail looked like it was being very invasive. So was the tail actually going inside of the person's head, or was it just kind of like rolling around on the person's head? What exactly was happening?
From where I was, first started out laying there, and then found myself standing next to this other entity, and then seeing this human with this entity on top of them. It looked like the tail was kind of like whipping a little bit, but the tail was definitely looked like it was inside the person's brain, if that makes any sense. Just whatever happened, it just looked really invasive. And the fact that initially I thought that it was ribs encasing this person's body, it was actually wings. The more we talked about draconians and reptilians, because I'm not really familiar with certain things like this. This is something that's new for me, and why I was there, what I saw always perplexed me, and I kept that experience to myself because I really didn't have any evidence of it actually happening. But when I was there, it felt real to me. And then just kind of like taking it all in. When people have experiences like this, if they ever do, some people can articulate it. And for me, it was difficult, and still at times is difficult to articulate exactly what I saw. Like if I could have somebody tap into my brain and pull the information out so that I could show them exactly what I saw, that would be really beneficial for me. But there was another instance of an experience.
So the other being that was standing next to you, that you felt like that being brought you there to witness this event happening. What did that being look like? And is that the same being that you had in another experience that you had before that you were talking about?
Yes, so you want me to talk about the previous experience and then go back to that being?
Sure.
I was laying in my bed and something woke me up, and my body was not paralyzed, kind of like when you get sleep paralysis, but my mind and my ability to perceive what was happening around me, I was very much awake. And I saw this giant entity in front of me. I'm a tall person, and this being made me feel very small, very almost childlike in comparison to their stature, and an imposing and intimidating force. I didn't feel like it wanted to hurt me, or I know some people think that aliens come and they want to have like intimate relations with the person that they're watching or whatever, but I didn't really know why it was there. And when it would breathe, because its rib cage was so large, it sounded like a giant animal. I go back to Jurassic Park. So if anybody's familiar with Jurassic Park, there's a scene where there's a triceratops and it's sick and it's breathing and it's kind of labored a little bit, and it's taking deep breaths, and that's kind of like how it sounded to me at that point. There wasn't a lot of interaction between us. This time frame was probably really short, but it felt like a long time. And initially, I was frightened by what I saw or whom I saw. And I just fell back asleep. I think I passed out from maybe fright, or it wanted me to go back to sleep at that point.
Did you?
But I do believe. Yeah, go ahead.
Did it have hair? Did it have scales? Or was it just like you couldn't make out what exactly this being looked like?
Yeah, I couldn't. I don't think it had hair. At first I thought it was beast-like, but it was kind of difficult to see in the dark. The only thing that I could really say is by its sheer size alone, it had to be dark-colored. I just don't know what color it would be. But yeah, as I could remember the outline of its body. It's possible that it has wings, but I didn't really see them. But I could definitely remember just how imposing it was figure it had.
Yeah, it was just a big, massive being, and you didn't.
Yes.
You weren't. Yeah. Okay. So then, when you were in this school, because we now know that you're definitely in the karate school, that it was it the same being that brought you there? You feel like it was the same thing?
I think so. Yeah, I think so, because the entity I was standing next to, I'm guessing that was my original, and this is just my observation, that maybe that was my original introduction to this entity, and we probably had more interactions. I'm guessing for me to become comfortable with it, because at a point, like I said, when I was at the school, I was standing next to this entity, and it was very large, and I did not feel scared. I didn't feel nervous or anything like that. I felt like, okay, you know, you obviously want me to see something. And there was, I don't want to say it was like comfortable, but I wouldn't say that I felt nervous, or I was just there with it. Like, you know, there was an understanding. But I would say what I was watching happen to the human with the entity that was on top of, you know, it was a little bit disturbing initially, until I started talking to you, you know, like watching your videos, because I think a lot of times as humans, and this for me, there's things that we don't understand. So our initial response is fear, because we can't conceptualize what exactly it is that we're looking at, and we just have this preconceived notion that, oh, this must be doing evil to this person. And in essence, it wasn't doing that to you at all.
No, and in fact, if it did not leave the marks on the floor, I wouldn't have understood it was reptilian. If it did not leave the marks on the wall, then my and your connection may not have been as strong, because when I never knew what the hell those marks on the wall, could not figure out where they came from, but then when you said a tail, that was like, it was like, bingo, here we go. This is what it was. You know, you didn't say that it was a tail that left the marks on the wall. You just said that this thing had a tail, and it was like doing this thing to this person's head. And I know that my mind was unlocked, so that's how it was doing it. And the marks on the wall tells me that most likely that this entity probably has some type of substance or something that oozes from the tail. That's what I'm guessing. And that substance that's oozing from the tail, or it brought it from whatever dimension it came from, brought that through with it. It purposely slapped out on the wall so that way I would trust you later on. Because what happened was, between me and you, when we first started talking, we started noticing not only did we have a lot of things that were very similar about each other, like that was just really, really similar in very weird ways, right? But we also started noticing that we were starting to share thoughts, which was very weird. Like mind, like reading each other's minds, that we were actually sharing thoughts. And like, there's been quite a few times that, like, right before I go to text you or I go to say something, boom, you automatically text me or text me exactly what I was about to tell you. And I'm like, that's just crazy. And I'm pretty sure that's happened on your side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what pretty much that was like the first thing, the first step. And then I started looking more into your alien experience. And then that's what opened everything up. And we're just like, okay, there's definitely something going on here. Right.
Right. And I'm very similar to you, obviously, in the way I had no evidence of, no physical evidence. What happened, me seeing what happened to you, would really only make sense to you. And that's really technically all that matters, because of the experience that I had. I was actually present, but at a different point of time, which is interesting. It was like I was going in the past to see what happened to you. So like, your experience happened in 2017, and when I saw you, it was 2019 or 2020, around that time, when I actually was present to see that happen to you. But if I would have seen it beforehand, I don't think we would have had the same result. If that makes sense, I probably would have chalked it up as a dream, or, the timing had to be just right for me to push forward, because you made your channel, you had it up for like a year before I found it.
Yeah, January 1st, 2020 was the first video.
And if I would have been there in 2017 or 2018 or the beginning of 2019, none of this wouldn't have formulated perfectly.
Like what happened when we went out to Utah and we went to go find this portal, because I said, hey, I am driven there and I'm pretty sure you're supposed to be there too, because the way things had happened. And when we got out there and, on our third day, I looked at you and I said, you're the navigator. You are supposed to find the way in. And you immediately, well, the first thing you said was, oh, okay, the pressure's on. And then you pulled up your phone, and perfectly at that timing, at that moment. So everything that led up all the way from 2017 and then into 2019 with you being there, and all the way until 2021 with, actually at the end of 2020 when you started coming into videos, because you didn't actually come start watching my videos until like towards the end of 2020. That's around the time you subscribed. And then in 2021, we went out to Utah, and that perfectly set everything up in place for you to pull out that phone at that very moment and confirm that the Alcor star, the Bear constellation, was right there on that rock at that very moment. It's 1,000,000,001 chances that would possibly happen. And you have the Alcor constellation on your arm, and there's a bear in the cave, and there's just no way that any of those things all perfectly came. So we know that we're definitely connected, that we're both supposed to have been there at that point in time. And that's one of the reasons why you were there in the school the night that with the thing that happened to me, and everything happened the way it happened.
And here we are now.
Yeah, here we are now. And so if I was to ask, if anybody was to ask people who are close to you that know you, would they say that you're a ghost chaser, you're a UFO watcher, you're the type of person who loves to get into scary movies or anything like that? What would they say about your character?
Oh, no. Now, they know that I like to think outside the box when it comes to what normal people call conspiracy theories. They know that I have a different way of looking at information. I don't like to just take what everybody gives me as word. I like to research it and make sure that it's right. But when it comes to like UFOs, I don't like scary movies. I don't like being scared. Yeah, they would be like, no, Eileen doesn't, I didn't even, and this might sound, I didn't even know draconians were a thing until I started talking with X. I knew about the Anunnaki because of their connection to certain things, like the Bible and such. And that
you're not a UFO watcher, though.
No, I'm not.
Like, you don't go out and look for UFOs. You don't go looking for Bigfoot.
No.
You're not the type of person to show up at alien conferences and stuff before all this thing happened. Like, you just really was not into it. Like, your mind was kind of like, okay, there's a possibility things are there, but you are not actively seeking those things.
No, not at all.
And that's what people would say about you, that no, she's never been into those things.
Yeah, they would definitely say that.
But you were a very devout Christian at one time, and you even went to Christian college, so you're very literal when it comes to the Bible, correct?
Yes.
And you did not feel like this was any type of... But for you and myself both, because I am also very highly educated on the Bible. Not as much as you are, because obviously you went to Christian college and you know a lot more about it than I do. But I did read it all the way through. I do understand it. I've went to a bunch of different churches and stuff like that. I was very much devoted, as well as you were devoted. When we were both not just devoted, but educated. And that's a lot of people don't understand. And through my education, it kind of led me to the path of, okay, this is definitely not right. This is not correct. And you felt the same way, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And because of that, you didn't feel like you could see how people would think that, easily fall into that, oh, this is some type of demonic possession that's happening to these people, to this person, or demons and the devil and all this, right? So if it's an alien entity, right, which we know we're dealing with alien entity, we know we're pretty much narrowed it down as draconian, that they would not pick two people who are very biblical and still stuck in old doctrine and have misconceptions of what they're actually looking at. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because my old thought process would be, well, this is all demonic, you know? And I know it might sound weird, but it's almost more reassuring that it's other entities or other beings as opposed to like demons or whatever else. That might make sense to some people and it might not. But, you know, growing up in church, if you've experienced that, you know what I'm saying, because... Yeah,
it frightens the hell out of you because it's...
It does.
People are listening right now.
It really does.
Yeah, people are listening right now. I doubt any of them are really Christians. You know, they're not stuck in the old doctrine. There's the people who are listening at this point. They're open-minded and trying to understand what's actually happening. Now, the one thing I want to bring up real fast, because first of all, there's a lot of stuff that we'll talk about, me and you, and then you'll go right to biblical stuff, and we'll start trying to crunch that out and try to figure out how that factor in with the Anunnaki and the Draconians, and we're starting to understand a lot of the way things have happened and how it was all outside entities and not from some omnipotent God with a bunch of angels. But so we had just, the other day, we just was looking up, actually I was just looking up, was there any other alien things that happened in the year 2017 when this thing happened to me? And that's when that big cigar-shaped UFO thing came into our atmosphere. And I started looking that up, and they said that it came from the Lyra constellation, the Lyra constellation. And then we found out that that constellation is a harp with a bird wrapped around it. And then you said, what about that harp and that constellation that refers to biblical? You can
King David was known to have a lyre, which is a harp. He's also in the Bible. Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah, which is funny. Yeah, because that's what I said when I was talking to you, and I said the Lyra constellation. The Lyra constellation, and and if you look at it, and you guys can see it, I'll put a picture up here where you can see it's a harp and it has a bird, and of course we know if you follow the bird, you follow all the way back to to ancient Roman times, and you can see the bird there with, and if you follow America's bird, it's all the same. Like it just, and you follow that all the way back to Egypt, and all this stuff goes all the way back to what would be biblical text, and they're coming from, and that's because we're dealing with what? Aliens, right? Anunnaki, who represented themselves as being some angelic beings by some omnipotent God to manipulate mankind. And the stuff that happened to me in the school and with you being... So looking at that constellation with the bird, with the harp, and knowing what you do with your education in biblical terms, what did you see? You said something about the harp was like a weapon or something. You wanted to talk about that?
Yes. So it's something I'd have to look into a little bit more, but we know that on the dollar bill, you see the bird and what looks to be some type of harp. And there was a video that I watched not too long ago, and I want to say that it was put out by the History Channel. They were discussing some type of weapon that looked like a harp that was used in these different battles.
To shoot out a frequency?
Yeah, that shoots out a frequency. And obviously we know that King David played a harp or a lyre, which could be some type, and he was very successful in his reign, taking other nations down and things like that. But we don't get the full story. And also, many people are aware that there is weather warfare, and they call it harp. So, and with harp, it's emitting a frequency also to manipulate the weather. Instead of going into battle, we'll just manipulate the weather, send a hurricane or a snowstorm or whatever, and try to destroy our enemies that way.
Yeah, even though that in 1972, the government CIA ran a program called Operation Popeye, which was weather warfare, and it became a huge international thing, crisis. And in 1972, they said that they were going to stop using weather warfare, which was chemtrails in the sky and everything like that. So anyhow, I want to pretty much end this now. We pretty much close this out. We were just talking earlier, and I know this is a little off topic, but we were talking about the football, about the Super Bowl that just came on, and I completely forgot that when you brought up the score was 48-21 the last time they won, correct? Remember you're telling me about that?
Yes, the last time Tampa Bay Buccaneers won was 48-21.
When they won a Super Bowl. And I had just said to you earlier, before you found that out, what did I say to you?
You said, I wonder if the game, this current Super Bowl, if the score is going to be 48-21.
Symbolizing the 48 years and then the 21. And I completely forgot that I said that, but actually, when I go through my text, I'm going to have to go through my text, and I'm pretty sure I said that in text, and I could probably show the time and date of when I said that was before the game was over. So, it's just crazy how things work out, but it takes both of us. It seems like it's taking both of us to really figure out things like this and to really predict things that are happening. Showing that connection, right?
Yep, exactly. Like certain things, I'll say to you, hey, not sure if you know about this, but you probably already do. And then you're like, no, I don't. And then, when you send me stuff, you're like, did you know? And I'll be like, no, I didn't. And then we'll just kind of
bounce back and forth, and then we get the answers, and then there it is.
Yep.
Right. It's insane how our minds just completely are constantly bouncing back and forth on problems, and then the answer comes to us right then. So it's not like it's just me having all the answers or you having all the answers, but it's been working collectively between the both of us. It's almost like before, I had a lot of information and I was getting it out, but with you there, it's like having an extra processor in the computer. It's like adding an extra hard drive to make things move faster. So it's definitely helped a lot.
I'm pretty sure that you text me a few times, and you had tried calling me and I wasn't answering. It was early in the morning, and then you got a hold of me and you sounded pretty freaked out. You said something happened at the school, and you wanted me to come up and take a look because you didn't know what was going on. So
Go ahead.
as soon as I was able to, I got dressed and, came up there, and, you answered the door. You were, pretty shaken, and, you showed me like these weird prints, on the floor. We were trying to figure out what they may have came from. There were almost, in my mind, they were, you think of like a reptile or something with two toes, and they were kind of widespread apart, but they were smaller. They weren't really big, but the weird thing was they came from the doorway that went in between your space and the hall, and they look like they came literally through the door, because when we opened up the door, there was nothing on the other side of the door at all on the ground. But then, you showed me it looked like almost like a antler or a horn or something, like scraped the wall, and it went from one side to the other. But there was a bolt on the door, like one of those metal ones that you pull the latch over and then put a padlock through. And so nothing could have gotten through the door. So, we were just trying to figure things out, looking outside. It's a real urban area right across the street from a high school. And, there's no mud outside, nothing like that substance that the tracks were made on the mat from. We looked around outside, and it's literally concrete and sidewalks. So, it looked really strange because the top, it's almost as if there were two layers to the prints, as if almost like they were burned in. I know that sounds strange, but it's like there was a layer on top and then a layer underneath, and then the mark on the wall. It was almost like a substance, like it reminded me of like maybe something like chalky or earthy type substance. And it was like a strange greenish, brownish, yellow type color. So then I hung out for a little bit, and we were trying to figure things out, like what it might have been, and, pull in different things like shoes and things like that to, see what could it have possibly been, but we couldn't figure anything out. And when you opened up the door, there was a hallway going to a bathroom with like old commercial carpet or something on the ground. But the odd thing about the prints was they look like, on your side of the door, they look like they had come from that direction. They obviously looked like they were pointing that way. Because of the shape of them, there's no way they could have been pointing the other way. But when you open the door, there was nothing on the ground or on the carpet on the other side at all that looked like, you would think if something or someone or whatever stepped in that weird substance, and then they walked from that hallway into the karate school, that you would think that there would have been some kind of print on the other side of the door, on the carpeting or something. There was nothing, like literally nothing.
And as far as my character, would you say that I'm the type of person that gets freaked out and spooked out about things all the time, or tries to make up supernatural things?
No, not at all. You're actually pretty stable as far as things like that go. I had never, actually, in all honesty, I've known you for over 10 years. I've never known you to be that like shook about something, like what the heck just happened. You weren't like some people might be hysterical or like lose their mind over something like that. You weren't like that. You were just you were shaken, but you were like perplexed and trying to put it together and figure out what it was and what might have happened, in a logical explanation that would have made sense coming from something from the natural world. Was it outside, was it but we just couldn't figure anything out that would have explained it.
And would you say that I'm the type of person before that was really into a bunch of spiritual, supernatural stuff at all?
Definitely not spiritual at all. Certainly not supernatural. We did visit together. We went to like Area 52, that area down there in New Mexico. At the time we weren't really thinking anything about. We just thought it would be a cool place to stop because we happened to be going from California to Florida. But we had a good time with it. It was funny. We weren't thinking anything conspiracy-like or, we played around in the little touristy places and, put on alien glasses and silly things, antlers and stuff. It was fun. I mean, we never really thought anything of things like that. And as far as supernatural things go at all, you never believed in ghosts or, things moving on their own or anything of that nature. No.
It's because you've known me for 10 years. When would you say that I actually started obsessing over the year 1972?
I'm not really sure exactly when it was, but I would say it was approximately a year or so ago. It started out as just kind of fun. We were looking at, things that happened the year that we were born, famous people who might have been like born on our birthday or near our birthday or the same like zodiac signs or just being silly, It just started out as very casual. And then it just seemed like, you kept seeing things or kept finding things or things just kept coming up with 1972, things that happened that year, things that, were associated with that in some way.
So, but before that, you've never known me to obsess over anything like that?
No. I mean, you had talked before about being born in 1972, but you weren't obsessed over it at all at that time, no.
Hey everybody, I'm here with my mom and I'm going to ask her a few things so that you guys can understand the character of who I am. So just a little while ago, when you were telling me about your house, your apartment, it has like spiritual energy, right? Remember you were telling me about that? So tell me about that.
Spiritual energy?
Yeah.
There's times that you can look in the hallway and you'll see something go by, and you get a feeling, a cold feeling.
And then when you told me about that, what did I say?
There's no such thing.
Just a little bit ago,
But you want me to believe what you're saying, but you're saying that what I'm saying is no such thing.
Okay, now why did I say that I don't believe in what you're saying?
Because you don't believe in what I'm saying.
No, because I said, unless there's what?
Proof.
Evidence.
Evidence.
If you can show me evidence
show me evidence.
that so people understand that you have never taken me for somebody who believes in ghosts.
Nope.
Or spirits.
Nope.
Or any of that stuff.
Nope.
Right? Like when you tell me things about things like that, I just always brush it off, correct?
Right.
Yeah. So for me to show you about the alien footprints left behind, that's out of character for me.
Yeah.
That's pretty much. So yeah, everybody, that's my mom, and she just confirmed that I'm not a person.
And I'm 72 years old, right along with the 1972 stuff.
So yeah. And she thinks my 1972 stuff is funny. So, but yeah. So anyhow, so that way you guys know that is my character. That's everybody who knows me knows that I'm not the type of person. I don't even watch scary movies or any stuff like that to spook myself out. And I'm not a spiritual person per se. I don't, get into chakras or any type of spiritual things or anything, or claim to see spirits or demons or angels or any of that stuff. And I don't attend a bunch of rallies for alien rallies and stuff or any of those things. Like, have you ever known me, Mom, to ever like get into a bunch of alien stuff? Like, have you ever known me to like proclaim that I've seen UFOs and things like that?
No.
And that I see aliens and stuff?
No.
Okay, so yeah, it's completely out of character for me.
Yes.
Right.
It's all out of character.
Okay, and this all happened 3 years ago. So, and I am 48 now. It happened when I was 45. So out of 45 years, I think my mother would know if I was a spiritual person or believed in spirits and ghosts and things, right?
Right. But you don't.
and you've never known me to like be an alien watcher or a UFO chaser or anything.
No. You liked all the movies,
Mm-hmm.
but you never followed them. No. Would you like Klondike bar?
All right, that's my mom. So there's marks on my wall, and I could never understand what those marks were. We thought maybe they're, because your mind automatically goes to religion, right? Because I used to be a very religious person. I was very educated in the Bible as well as a devout Christian. That's just not the case anymore. So my mind went right to, is the devil in my skull? Did the devil come here? It just didn't make any sense. But I thought maybe it was horns or something that scraped on the wall, but there's no scrapes, just the way the stuff was on there. It was a weird substance. I could never figure it out. So my mind was unlocked, and this is going to sound very bizarre to a lot of people because they just won't understand it, and it's very hard to grasp it. But my mind was literally opened up. What this preacher did to me was open my mind up to seeing things that most humans are not seeing. I started noticing all these things with 1972 and I was like, and I wasn't looking for it. In fact, I even covered everything up in my school I covered the story up for 3 years. I didn't talk about it because if you talk about something like this, it'll shut your business down. They'll say, this guy's a nutter. Don't take your kids or anybody go learn karate from him because he believes aliens are in his school. So I kept it quiet. I didn't say anything for a very long time. But in the beginning of 2020, I couldn't deal with it anymore. I'm like, I have to get this message out. And the message was 1972, there is a problem because of all this stuff that was going on. So as I'm putting videos up on 1972 and what I thought was a time glitch because I thought we were in a simulation all year long, towards the end of the year, I get contacted by Tintin, and she says, hey, I'll let her tell that part of the story. So go ahead, Tintin, tell them what you said when you contacted me.
Yeah, I had a few experiences. One in particular, I was trying to find answers to for one of the experiences that I had, and I came across Rat's his YouTube channel, and we started talking. I think it was like December 12th or something like that, and I just kind of like explained to him my experience. And as we talked further, there was a realization, I think a few weeks later on, where I realized I was actually in the room at a different point in time, like in 2020 or the end of 2019, the beginning of 2020, and saw what happened to him and his experience. And I was able to tell him that it was actually a tail that the entity had that was on top of him. And at first, I thought that there were ribs that were encasing him while this being was on top of him, but it was actually wings. And I'm not really into the extraterrestrial part of things. I mean, this is like a new thing for me. So it really opened my mind to a lot of things, but that was kind of like the beginning of our connection with one another. And since then, like we've obviously felt connected to each other because of, me seeing what he experienced and me being in the room while it happened. We're still trying to figure out as to why I was in the room or why I saw what I saw or had to be shown this. So here we are now talking to you about it, and it's put us on a path to figure out more about, the significance of 1972 portals, numerology, the things that are occurring now in this natural reality, which has been manipulated through a time hack.
Yeah, so let me explain something real fast so people can understand when we're talking about time hack. Because are you there? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So here's what people need to understand. It feels like I was dead set last year. I really believe we're in a simulation because there's no way possible all the things that happened in 1972 could possibly have happened in that 1 year. So everything was squished in 1 year. So I'm like, okay, this must be a pivotal point for when the simulation began. And I explained all of that stuff all throughout the year last year, how a simulation works and how that could actually happen. However, the whole thing with the alien just did not, it was always a stopping point for me. There was one thing it kind of like really was like, just didn't make any sense. So how could you tell the difference between a simulation, a simulated reality versus a natural reality where there's a frequency that's blocking your mind from seeing certain things and manipulating things in your mind to see other things, as well as the fact that I'm sure that most people probably agree it's possible for time travel. I mean, come on, we're talking Nazi Germany way back in the day, the Nazi bell. So, I mean, it's not a new concept. It's not a new thing, and Nikola Tesla with his things on time travel. This is something that humans have been trying to do for a long time. But if you're saying that humans are already tried to do it, well, if you got beings from, other planets and stuff that are millions of years advanced past us, then they already have that technology. They already understand how it works. So if they're able to manipulate time on Earth, and I don't mean the entire universe, I mean just the manipulating time on Earth, because of whatever reason they had to do, they had to put a pivotal point in time when they changed things and they meshed things together. When they did that, they had to use a frequency to scramble people's minds so that they would not look at what happened. And that's how we get this whole time hack thing. So now back to what Tintin was saying during that time when she was there in the school, when I started talking to her and she told me about, that she had this alien experience, and she said she saw this alien on top of this person, and there was like this tail that was going into this person's head, and it was doing this thing, and these ribs were encased around it. I went to and looked at my video, and I was like, oh my God, that's the marks on the wall that we could not explain. That is, I challenge anybody to this day, recreate the marks on the wall. Even the angle of the way the marks are on the wall cannot be recreated. It just cannot be done. And the substance that was on there, and I have testimony from somebody who actually came there and saw the substance, saw the stuff, and she was just like, there's no way possible. This is, and you can hear that interview too. But the substance that was on the wall was like 3 parts of different substance. In other words, it was kind of like this earthy, chalky substance, but underneath of it was this gray film. So it was like double layered, and on the outside of the entire substance was this gold dust that was laid inside of it. So it's just a very weird substance. So what I'm imagining, what happened was the being, when it came through the door, when it came through the portal into my school, the tail smacked the wall. Now, these beings are not, they're very, very smart. This being left those marks there because they knew I would investigate. They knew right now, to this point where I'm talking to you right now, this is how intelligent these things are. They know your path in life. They know where you're going. So they trust certain people with certain information. They do certain things. Like when you hear these people who have like all these other alien experiences, what I used to never really get into, but now I kind of pay attention more to them. And they talk about things that are going on. Well, a lot of the aliens knew that they were going to be talking about what they're talking about, because then you have people who never talk about stuff. So there's information that's being shared with the rest of humans for a reason. So when she told me about that, and I said, okay, so that was a tail. And then I started looking more into the reptilian races, and come to find out there's draconians, which have big wings. And I was like, and I told her, I said, oh my God, those weren't ribs, because it sounded weird. Those weren't ribs wrapped around me. Those were wings, right? It's draconian wings. It's the tail, the wings, and the feet. Now, it never meant me any harm. It never did anything to hurt me. It unlocked my mind. That is positive. That is not a negative. So with all of that, so that's what got me and 1010 connected. And then towards the end of last year, we were talking, somebody else contacted us and she said she had all this land. And I'll go ahead and let 1010 go ahead and tell that story.
Okay. Yeah, it was actually, I think she contacted you through the channel, and you were talking to her originally, and you were like, oh, you should talk to, I think we call her now the gatekeeper. And you were like, oh, you would get along because she, you know, has a lot of similarities, and she likes a lot of the same things, same experiences that you and I have had, like just weird synchronicities between you and I throughout our lives. And you were like, you should get to talking to her. She has this property, and, you know, she has a lot of interesting things to say. So I was like, okay. So I got in contact with her, and we started talking, and she started talking about her property, which it was interesting because she sent an email to both of us and was just kind of like talking about this experience that she had out there on her property. And she wanted us to come out because she felt that there was things that were happening on her property, and that
there was a portal, and she wanted us
there
to
was
come
a portal.
find it. And that was what they wanted.
Yes. Which was weird because I don't think at that point we were really considering looking for a portal. You were just trying to find answers as to, like, you know, what happened in your school, like where this alien came from.
Yeah,
and
I literally
we were
just
really
came.
curious.
Yeah, I just came back from a trip driving all the way from Cleveland, Ohio, all the way out to Scottsdale, Arizona to go to Alcor. And if you guys go back and you watch my videos on my first channel, in the beginning of 2020, the very first video, as I talk about Alcor and the significance of it, and that it was founded in 1972. And that has a whole lot to do with all of this as well. You know, with the Alcor and going out there and finding out about the Alcor star. And then 1010, when I was talking to her, come to find out she's got, she could tell you about her whole thing with the Alcor star and all that, and how she's actually has it, you know, on her, like she's branded with it in freckles on her arm, you know, and everything, just birthdays, all this stuff is very, very weird. And yeah, she contacted us about coming out there because here's something a lot of people don't know yet and don't understand. But I predicted the election in like all of it, all the way down to the T of how it was going to happen and what was going to be the outcome. And everybody told me that it was never going to happen because they said that, you know, Trump was going to win. And I said, I agree. It does look like he has more, but this is what happened in 1972. And anybody can look up the evidence in 1972. And if you do the opposite and you reverse it in 2020, because I have a whole bunch of stuff that I put online where I showed that things that began or ended in that year began again or ended in 2020, connecting the 2 years, meaning that they are both connected. There's no way possible. The odds are 1,000,000,001 for that many things to actually happen. And because of that prediction and other predictions that I made that all came true, all of them, almost every single one of them came true. I think that's why we were contacted by the gatekeeper. You know, that, and she works for one of the alphabet agencies. Would you agree, 1010?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Tell them, go ahead and talk about the rest of your experience, 1010, with the gatekeeper. Because, yeah, she tried to get it. She asked us to come out. She told us that she had a portal. And I even, and I'm going to let you get to it, but I even said in my videos, because I was documenting my trip, I said, I don't have the money and I don't have the time to go out there, but I'm gonna go ahead and take some time off work and I'm gonna go because I know I have to be there. Like I have to go now. And I told 1010, you have to go now too. And neither one of us was ready, but we did. And when we did, everything lined up perfectly for 1,000,000,001 chances that Alcor star would line up on the portal stone that I found when we got out there, and it was confirmed by 1010. So she's gonna go ahead and tell you guys what happened with her and her experience with the gatekeeper, and how come we thought that it's a very good possibility she's either CIA or NSA. And I mean, it is what it is. And I definitely, my life was the whole trip, you know, towards the end of the trip, my life was in jeopardy. Believe it or not, whether you guys want to believe it or not, but 1010 will confirm a lot of the stuff that was talked about my death to 1010. Like the gatekeeper was talking about my death to her in many different ways when she wasn't with me. But then when she came back around, she kept calling me the Scorpion King, kept trying to stroke my ego. It was very, very bizarre. And once we found the portal, that was it. When we've confirmed that portal, that this stone is the portal, by the way, that property out in Utah belongs to the government. It doesn't even belong to her. It belongs to the government. There was a bear in the cave. The bear didn't attack me when I climbed up there to go look, to go inside the cave. And the bear is actually in the Alcor constellation. So I'm going to go ahead and let 1010 talk, because, you know, I'll go on forever.
Where do you want me to start as far as like, I'll go back to the email.
Okay.
Because talking about the property, because we thought it was really interesting how she sent that long email, and she was like, don't tell anyone about this property because I don't want a bunch of people coming. But she was so willing and trusting to send us that map with the coordinates and everything in it. And she didn't know anything about us. At least that's what we thought. But she knew a lot about us because I do a certain, like what I do for my job. She, you know, is very similar to what she did for a living. And she would talk to me about it in our conversation.
Tell them what her job was, though.
Which one? Her
her
job or her
her fake job as a psychologist.
She's a psychologist, and she studied marital counseling and exorcism. That's what her main specialties were. Yeah, demonic possession. There it is. And
this is who brought us out there to go find a portal.
Yes. And so, you know, I think at the time we didn't really think anything of it because, you know, we were busy trying to figure out about the portal. But I know you had your instincts the moment that you met her. And I think it was like the second day when I pieced a bunch of the stuff together based upon the evidence that she presented as far as who she was. And I always thought it was interesting that when, you know, her family members would call, she'd have their full names listed in the phone. She was always talking on the phone. She was always like texting, and she had what they would call like remote viewers available to her, which are psychics. I didn't know what remote viewers were. When she would tell me, I'm like, I don't know what that means. And then I think, RatX, you told me later on, like remote viewers is what is equivalent to a psychic, or that's the verbiage that people that work for the government would use. And the first day that we get out to the portal, I mean, there was a lot of what we felt like was keeping us from getting to do the mission. We were being held back a lot. I think you can agree with that. A lot of like slow moving energy. Like I spent the day pretty much setting up the campsite the first day, her tent, all her stuff, everything, which is fine. I didn't mind doing it, but it kept us from getting to the portal. Like it was, I think we had an hour or so before sundown, right? I think that was about right. Or maybe an hour and a half before it got dark.
Yeah, it's about what we had left, about an hour and a half.
And so we get out there, and the first thing that she really does, we get out of the vehicle. She takes us in this beautiful new SUV that she just bought, and we get to the spot where you can't walk any further. You have to go on foot and hike. So
wait a minute. The brand new SUV, she was smashing it like into, like, you guys have no idea that the terrain there was just insane. Nobody would take anything back there because it is really, really hard to get back there. And she just drove through it like it was nothing, because we now are pretty sure that was a government vehicle. it wasn't hers because she literally didn't care. And we were sticking, I had a spear, and because, martial arts, I brought my spear, my bow, and a couple of swords. And we weren't bringing those things because if we had to fight alien entities that were going to come out, because I don't know what was going to happen. I had no idea. I didn't know if we were going to be welcomed with open arms or if there was going to be some type of challenge that was going to happen. Because you got to understand, when the Draconian came to me, it came to me in my karate school. So I wasn't really sure what to expect. I'm just very neutral I'll be prepared, but if nothing at all, then, I don't care. And so, I took my spear in her SUV. It was branded, and the spear like tore a little piece of something, and she didn't even care. Like, do you remember that? Like, she did not care. So we're pretty sure it wasn't even her vehicle, and she just got it the day before. And she said she just got a raise the day before when she brought us out there, which was all kind of very weird stuff. Like, you got a promotion, Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut in on you.
No, that's good, because sometimes I forget certain things. But yeah, we get there finally, and she looks to me, and she's licensed to carry, and she hands me a weapon, and she's like, "You need to protect yourself." And I'm thinking,
it's like a 9mm or something, or I don't know,
with a laser on it.
Fully
and
loaded.
She's like, "You can't." Yeah, totally loaded. I have never shot a gun in my life, and I don't have a license or anything like that. And she hands it to me, and if I were to choose a weapon, it wouldn't be that. It would be like a staff or something. I don't know. But it was just very peculiar. And then she ended up taking it back anyway. So it was kind of like, and you'll see as to why that's important to the story, because towards the end, like, something could have happened to RatX on the third day. And
which was 72 hours, was what I said when we got there. I said, we have to stay here for 72 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first day we get to the cave, and you were up there, I think. Well, I think you were climbing around a little bit and looking to see if you could get inside of the cave.
The cave, guys, is blocked in by a cave in the very front. It's blocked and you cannot get in. But to get to the cave, you have to go through this really windy area, and it's like a dome back there. Like, you cannot see anywhere in there. Now, across from that is a old abandoned military base called the Green River, and there's a crystal geyser down there. So people go there, but they can't go over to the other property, and it's damn near almost impossible because the terrain is really bad. And we were over there where the cave was and the cave-in was, but before you go to the cave, before you get to this little path to get back to the cave, you have to go around this massive rock that is out of place. But none of us really thought anything about it. In fact, the first thing I did was walk up to my hand. I was like, "Wow, look at this rock!" But then I just walked past it. Like, we all just walked past it.
You acknowledged it. You acknowledged it, but it was like subconsciously, maybe, that you knew something was special about it, but you just were like, "Okay, I got to find the cave." And it was interesting too, because of how the rocks had fallen in that area. It looked like she said that it was earthquakes, but how these rocks were positioned or how they were cut, they almost looked perfectly cut or like carved out, or I don't know. It looked like demolition of some kind to me. When I look back at it, it wasn't like a natural occurrence.
But the portal stone, the one that was in front of the pathway, was completely out of place. There were no other big stones like around it. You just kind of go around it, you get right to the cave. It was out of place, and you just don't. Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And you just don't know. It's just hard to explain, the way it looks there. But is Tintin, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, this. If you go to RatX's channel, you can see pictures of the portal stone and how, like, perfectly square. It's almost perfectly square, or maybe a little more rectangulish, and how it's perfectly put into the ground and sticking straight up, kind
About
of like
about
a
a,
door.
yeah, about an 8 foot being could walk through it.
Hmm.
That's about it's
It was
because I
like,
think it's about 10 foot high. You think?
yeah, I was thinking that, about 10 foot
Yeah.
high. And, that was like our first day. And I think we were being rushed to get out of there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the first day too. And so we made it back to camp, and
And then
we
you
were
two
like,
ladies, I want to cut you off, but you two ladies went to
sure.
town. And when you all
Mhm.
went to town, that's when I had the knock on my van. There was like something, I was
Right.
in my van and it sounded like something like somebody threw a rock. And there's no way, there is nobody around. You cannot get to this area. It's not that easy, guys. You can see it.
Mhm.
It's insane, like how much land there is. It's flat and you can see for miles. So somebody
Yep.
cannot sneak up on you. There was like this, it sounded like a rock hit my van. And I was like, what the hell is that? Then all of a sudden I feel a big shove. So think of like some linebacker running at your car and hitting it. And that's what I
Mhm.
felt in my van. Now, when I came out of my van with my swords, and I was just like, I mean, I'm prepared just in case I have to fight a being that's there that may want to challenge me to see if I'm worthy. I don't know what I'm up against. I'm not afraid, but at the same time, I'm willing to do what I'm supposed to be doing here. And I come out and there's nothing around. There's no footprints. There's nothing. And I told the ladies when they came back that, and I know 1010 believes what I tell her. She kind of takes it as, okay, well, why would he lie? But the same thing happened to them the very next night in their vehicles. And they're like, that happened to us. But anyhow, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to get that in before we forget that part.
Yeah, that's okay. To go back to that too, when it happened to me, when it happened to you, and it also happened to the gatekeeper, I think around the same time, but like it was a little frightening, but for you and I being out there, we weren't afraid at all. I mean, but the gatekeeper kept saying that she was,
She was
worried
nervous.
or concerned. Yeah, she was nervous about what was going to happen out there. And
But
also
she
want to
told us.
mention,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, you go ahead.
No, go ahead. You can tell them.
When it came to being nervous and being out there, I forgot what I was going to say.
Oh, well, yeah. The thing is the gatekeeper was telling us this whole time that she goes out there all the time by herself and she camps out overnight. And we found out that was a lie right from the very beginning, that she was lying about that. That's just, there's no way possible. Especially because of the things that she was doing stuff. But talk to them and explain to them when the first time that you felt like my life might have been in danger because of some of the stuff that she was saying to you when you guys would leave alone and leave me out there on a property by myself.
Yeah, I think it was like the second day. She would talk to her son pretty much every day. And I think I said, I think her son is her boss and not really like her actual son.
Yeah, guy in the Air Force.
Similar like to her daughter also, who was very similar to me in my situation. Again, trying to befriend or have commonalities or build a foundation of trust because you're like, oh, you're like me, or this is like me, things like that. But yeah, I think it was the second day, and we came back, and she asked me if RatX had issues with like depression, and if I thought he was suicidal. I mean, in essence, that's what she was asking me. And then at a different time asked me flat out. And I said, no, he seems perfectly fine to me. He wouldn't, I said, there's a difference because, and he'll tell you directly, like he's okay with meeting oblivion, but he's not going to take his own life because he knows that he has a purpose here, to bring news to people, to help them understand, the time hack in 1972. And, she just kind of looked at me and was like, you could tell it wasn't the answer that she wanted to hear. And Another thing I want to mention too, the fact that the area that we went to in the portal, it was government property. But I kind of wondered if the whole area was kind of off limits, because, and the only reason why I mentioned that is because nobody drove back there. And she would talk about how everybody would always drive back here and they would trespass on the land. But the whole time we were there were no
Not
other
once.
vehicles, not ever.
Until the last day when she said that there are hunters out around that are not, it's not hunting season. There's hunters out and they have rifles. And she says, and by the way, Rat, you can go back to the portal by yourself and I'm going to keep 1010 in the car with me. And I'm just like, that's kind of weird.
It is.
So
and at that moment,
and a couple of trucks started coming out there and they were circling around out in the area.
They were.
And this is like, these guys they're like military. And I think that they were waiting to see where Draconian's going to come out of this portal. Was I going to go into this portal where they're going to have to snuff me? I don't know. But I can tell you the whole feel and the whole mood. Once me and 1010 found the portal, once we found and we confirmed that there is a portal here, because it's 1,000,000,001 chances that the Alcor star alignment would have been on that portal, on that stone at the very moment when I said, 1010, you're the navigator, you have to find a way in. And then she found the Alcor star immediately on there. Then the gatekeeper's eyes bugged out of her head. And I was like, confirm it with your phone too. And I told the gatekeeper to do it. And she pulled up her phone and she goes, oh my God. She says, it's on there. She's like, the Alcor. She's like, there's no way that this can, and like I said, it goes all the way back to January of 2020 when I was talking about Alcor in 1972 and the significance of it. And all of this stuff led up to this very moment in time. That's just not possible, because the constellation constantly moves. And for me to say right now at this very moment and on my way out there documenting some of this trip and saying that we have to be there at a specific time, it's just not possible, guys. Just like looking at 1972 and 2020 and being able to predict all those things, as well as the freaking Super Bowl. It's just not possible. So yeah, and she was telling 1010, talking about my suicide. She was telling 1010 about being an Amazon, and because 1010 is not a small woman, she's a very big, strong woman. She's not, and she's not a big, heavy set woman. 1010 she does look like she could be like a Wonder Woman type, an Amazon type woman. She's a big woman, and she was telling her that she kept calling her the Amazon, which I can kind of understand that. But then she was telling you about, Amazon kill men and stuff, and telling her to take it was just weird. Like the whole thing was just, and she kept talking about like my death and, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that was an awkward conversation that she had with me about that, because she did say that, kind of to touch back on, you're like an Amazon woman, and Amazon women, they normally kill the men that are around them or whatever. And we go back to that conversation because if you remember us telling you, Aaron, she handed me her firearm. So in that moment, I think later on, at one point, RatX was like, listen, you got to get out of here. I got to get out of here, because if I don't, something's going to happen to me. And he was like, I think you'll be okay, but you need to get out of here, because I'm not sure what's going to happen.
We needed to separate, and they were trying to separate us. Like she was trying to separate us. After we found the portal, she was ready to cut bait and go, because the military or whoever, whatever branch of government she works for, it was confirmed that there's a portal. Guys, there is a military base across from there. They talk about Utah as one of the, I think it's called like one of the four corners or something like, I don't know anything about all about that stuff. But I mean, they knew, and the whole thing, like the whole thing with the cows, like there's like cows that were been brought back there, which we pretty sure were brought back there as bait to try to get the aliens to come out of this portal. It's that real. It's not, look, we're not talking about stuff that we cannot confirm. We're talking about stuff that we have pictures and we have evidence of. we're talking about stuff that you guys go over there now. I bet you anything that stone is probably got some type of gate wrapped around it right now. And I bet you the military is all up in there because nobody is going to, the whole time we were out there, the gatekeeper constantly kept going back to her car, kept getting on the phone, talking to remote viewers, coming back to us. That's government stuff. You don't just do that. It just doesn't even make any sense. She was telling us that where the portal, where this cave was in the tail of the dragon. He's like, right. So, and what was the alien that came to me? It was a draconian, a dragon people. And it's just really, really like, it's so real. It's not even funny. And this thing has caused problems for my social life, my personal life, and a lot of other things, because it's more important than everything else that I was doing, which was building a very good, solid foundation in a martial arts system with my school and all that, and all the things I had going on. And it's put a monkey wrench in Tintin's life too. And it's just, the whole thing was, look, the gatekeeper told us that her son was in the Air Force. Okay. Her husband had just passed away, left her all this land, and that the family hated her because she should not have got this land. And that the sister of the husband, the sister of her sister-in-law worked for FEMA. She said she worked for FEMA, so she wanted us to be careful with some of the things that we text back and forth with her, because she's afraid that her sister-in-law, come on, there's too much government here. And her job is that she also bills the government. That's what she said. She didn't say actually who she worked for the government, but she bills the government because she is a psychologist for marital issues and demonic possessions. I mean, guys, if you can't put the 2 and 2 together on that, I don't know what to tell you. You're missing all the big picture that's going on. And yes, it's put me in jeopardy, and it's definitely put Tintin in jeopardy. But we just keep pushing forward, because I do know, and I feel that there is something there that's protecting me. And like I said in the beginning, some people are going to think of me as the enemy, and that's fine. But I do feel like the Draconians are in some way protecting me. It's bizarre. It's strange. I've almost felt like, and then afterwards, after I reflected on my whole life, it's felt like that's happened throughout my entire life. And it just wasn't up until the year 2017 that everything was revealed to me. And without that happening, we never would have got to that point. None of this stuff would have happened.
Let me just kind of recap here for our audience and to try to highlight this a little bit. So first, this gatekeeper tries to give you 1010 a gun, a loaded gun, right? That's
Yes,
like the
that's
first thing
correct.
she does. She wants you armed. She didn't necessarily offer it to RatX, did she?
She told me, no, she never offered me a gun. She told me to pick up her gun on the last day that we're there to get her one of her guns out of her tent. She's like, hey, can you get that gun for me out of tent? And when I went to go pick it up, I picked it up with like the tips of my fingers. So I didn't leave any fingerprints on it, So it definitely felt like I was being set up.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, who would do that?
So she tries to get you packing 1010 with a loaded gun, and then she starts talking about RatX's death and how Amazon women kill the men, and wow, it just sounds like a psychological MK Ultra mind trip from HE double toothpicks.
MK Ultra was defunded in the year 1972. That was the year that MK Ultra is defunded. Anybody can look it up. 1973, MK Ultra is when they started destroying all their records. So every conspiracy that you can think about just about goes back to that year, because it's a time hack.
Yeah, well, they say they stopped it. I say they just changed the name. Maybe they changed it to the Gatekeeper. Who knows?
I agree. Just like they say we never went to the moon, just like a lot of people don't believe we went to the moon. But their claim is that it was the last time they went to the moon was in 1972. So I don't try to go down the rabbit hole of, well, they could be doing this, they could be doing that. Of course they did. Of course they didn't stop MK Ultra. We know that they just rebranded it. They sent it someplace else. There is no way that any government is going to put that much research into something and that much money and just say, hey, we got caught, so we're going to stop doing it. This is not how the government works. But the fact is, in the year 1972, it says that was when they were defunded. So we have to use that as a point of reference. Yeah. And that's where all that stuff comes from. And with the 1972, it was either a beginning or an ending for something that was all points of references.
Public information. Now, I just want to say that for me, I do believe that we did go to the moon, and that also that they did shoot some footage in case the cameras that they were sending on the moon with the astronauts didn't work, or if they didn't get any good shots. They wanted to make sure they had some good shots. So they went ahead and they made all of these very nice, photographs, because it was done in the studio. And they ended up using a lot of them because they were a lot better than the junk that the astronauts are not photographers. So what Nixon decided was, we can't go there and not have images. If we send them there and all of a sudden there's a malfunction and the cameras don't work, we need to have a backup. So that's why they did it. So that's why there's footage of different shadows, and because some of it was actually filmed in studio, but everything that landed on the moon is still there. The flag is still there, but the flag is now white because it's been bleached from the sun, because there's no atmosphere, and it's been bleached completely white.
Richard Nixon, a lot of people don't know this, but he is so important to the time hack and what happened in 1972. People need to understand, from the entire time of the moon landings, from the very first moon landing all the way up to Apollo 17, the very last moon landing, he was the only president in history that was the head of the United States when the moon landings are going on. It's a very good possibility, because they were saying in the Disclosure Project that, the first time that they went out to the moon, that on their way there, I guess some astronauts were saying that they saw, beings there. Oh, okay. Yeah. Tell us about it.
That's what they saw. Now, William Tompkins is the guy who designed the rockets, how to build the rockets, even the building to build the rockets in. He designed the scientific room where they were studying all the information coming in on the panels. He designed that. And he also designed an underground observation room, much smaller, where they got all the footage before it went public. And this is what they saw on the edge of the crater, watching them land on the moon. And so ham radio operators for years, they recorded, because it was ungarbled. They just recorded those missing 2 minutes that everyone wondered what happened after they landed on the moon. There was no transmission for 2 minutes. They were like, "Oh my God, sir, they're huge. They're on the crater. They're watching us. We know. Turn the camera off. Turn the camera. Stop talking about it." And that's what they saw. He did a sketch of what he saw. He saw what they saw. And I did a little rendering of it, what it might have looked like. So yeah,
it's crazy.
Very interesting.
Nixon is huge. A lot of people don't understand what happened in 1972, being in fact that was the last time they went to the moon. While Nixon was in office during that, in the year 1972, they stopped mass producing nuclear weapons. That was under the order of Richard Nixon. They stopped they did a ban treaty on biological chemical weapons. That was under Richard Nixon. Oh, they also got rid of the Corona spy satellite. Speaking of biological chemical weapons, they got rid of the Corona spy satellite in the year 1972. There was a historic landslide with Nixon in 1972. It was the only time in history that there was one state that went to one Democrat and one to an independent, and the rest of the country went to Richard Nixon. He got it all. Nixon he put the Clean Water Act in place. like the Marine Protection Mammal Act in place. Tons of stuff happened under this man. So if you're telling, most people have been talking about a lot of disclosure stuff where they're talking about aliens coming here and stuff, and they're saying that, you know, there are a lot of aliens that have invested interest in this planet being cleaned up. Well, in 1972, the last time they went to the moon, all of a sudden the planet starts getting cleaned up. You start paying attention to all these things going on. Stop making nuclear weapons. When they were having the most, and I think I might have heard on your show, maybe on somebody else's show, when they had the most UFO crashes was during the time before 1972, when there was tons of nuclear tests going on. When there was so much nuclear bombs going off, when they were testing so much, that's when UFOs started crashing. They were having a lot of crashes during that time. Then all of a sudden, 1972, hey, let's stop mass producing nuclear weapons. And all of a sudden, boom, all this stuff changes, as well as the currency becoming a fiat currency. And you and I was talking about that earlier. But people need to understand is the year before 1972, in 1971, Richard Nixon changed the dollar to a fiat currency. So in 1971, you could take your dollars. You could take, if you had $5,000, you know, $50,000, you can go to the bank and say, hey, I want $50,000 in gold. And the bank had to produce gold. They had to give you the gold for the money that you were turning in. That's where they had silver certificates. But then towards the end of 1971, he stopped that. But the dollars did not start becoming fiat currency until the year 1972. And I'm going to put this out here right now. And the first person that can get me a dollar, $1, that has the year 1972, that it was actually made in 1972, I don't know how much they're worth because I cannot find them anywhere. It has to be made in 1972. I will give you $48 for that $1, unless they're worth more than I'm making out better. But I don't even believe they exist. And so this is something I'm putting out there for people. Find a dollar that actually was stamped and dated and created in the year 1972. It's almost as if they don't even exist. It's like the currency didn't even exist in that year. You know, well, and just go ahead.
They do destroy paper money after a certain amount of years. They destroy it.
Yeah, they do. But I can find, I said this to my mother and I told her the same thing. You know what my mom does? She goes in her photo album. I got video of it. And she pulls up her photo album. She goes to, you know, the old photo albums back in the day. And she goes to old money that she has that was created before the year 1972. Old silver certificates. Those are out there. So even though they destroy money, we can find money long before 1972. So where are the 1972 dollars? It's almost like they don't freaking exist. Somebody find me one. I will pay you $48 for that dollar, unless it's worth more than, you know, I don't want to rip anybody off. But I have been looking everywhere and I cannot find any paper money, not coins, because they can print coins right now in the print and they can make it say it was made in 1970. No, I want to see paper money. Just like I can find silver certificates that are $2 bills or $100 bills or $5 bills that were created pre-1972 that say silver certificate on them.
Well, there you go, people. You can make a fortune if you find enough $1 bills that say 1972, and that doesn't mean crossing it out with a Sharpie and writing it in yourself. Has to be real.
Actually has to be printed in the year 1972. Now, here's another thing. For those of you who go out there and you look for them, you can't find them. Ask yourself why you can't find them. Ask yourself, what the hell is going on? How can I find dollars from 1971, 1973, but where are the 1972 dollars?
I don't know.
It's as if they simply don't exist.
I got a question. Did this happen in 1972? I know that it happened under the Nixon administration, where they made it legal to profit from healthcare. Prior to Nixon making this passing this new law, you could not legally profit from healthcare, and we see where that's gone.
I have no idea. I don't know about that, but I will look into it. I can tell you, when you talk about healthcare, we all know about Anthony Fauci, right? He's like the hot button doctor. Like, everybody forgot who Dr. Oz is. They're like, Oz who? Now all they're talking about is Anthony Fauci, because he is the, a month ago, they dubbed him the highest paid employee in the government. Okay.
Right.
A lot of people don't trust it. They don't trust all the stuff that's going on.
Right.
Anthony Fauci went into infectious diseases in the year 1972. That's when his career started, was in the year 1972. The same year that the name Corona for the Corona spy satellite was canceled.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2020, all of a sudden we hear about Anthony Fauci and we start hearing about a Corona. I mean,
That's
it's
right.
just, there's connections that are insane.
All of a sudden we hear about him. He's been there since 72, and then in 2020, all of a sudden he's like all over the place. Yeah, that is
America's doctor. America's doctor. Look, and they've been talking about, the African American community doesn't trust. I see it on the news all the time. They keep talking about the African American community doesn't trust the vaccinations and all this and stuff, right? And they always say they have to refer back to the Tuskegee experiment, right? Well, that ended in the year 1972 when Anthony Fauci went into infectious diseases. It was also the same year in 1972 when they started finally labeling and doing review of over-the-counter drugs. In other words, you can go and get over-the-counter drugs and you really didn't know what you were getting in them. So there were drugs, obviously, that they had to pass a thing in 1972 that now they're going to have to start labeling the drugs. So it's just, there's so much stuff that happened in that year. It doesn't matter what conspiracy you want to go with. Mm-hmm. You can find that it's connected to 1972. Like I said, the whole thing with 9/11, all that stuff is all connected to the same year.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I also went to the trouble of the pleasure of looking up the 3 top songs of 1972. The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack. Alone Again, Naturally by Gilbert O'Sullivan. I remember that song. And American Pie by Don McLean. Now, American Pie is about how America has virtually changed and doesn't even resemble what it used to be, right?
Yeah, that's a good find. That's a good find. When you talk about music in 1972 and how it connects to the things that were happening in 1972, the song Rocket Man, that's like everybody's, like most people, if they were going to say, hey, I'm going to get a trip to go to the moon, right? Like I'm going to get to go on a shuttle that they made now where they can just start taking people to the moon. I bet you on the soundtrack, Going to the Moon, Rocket Man would be one of the first songs on that freaking shuttle. It came out in the year 1972. Rocket Man, the song Starman by David Bowie came out in 1972, which is also when they created when they launched Pioneer 10. The Pioneer 10 satellite literally had a message on it that they were sending out into space, showing any extraterrestrial life forms, giving them a welcome message and showing them the map of Earth and our star map. That was what was sent out in 1972, the same year that David Bowie comes out with the song Starman. Now, do we believe that these artists were actually, hey, the government went to them and said, hey, this is the last time we're going to go to the moon, so we want you to come out with, this song, Rocket Man, and hey, we're going to send this satellite out to meet alien life forms, so we want David Bowie to make this, song about, meeting a man out in the sky, a starman. It's just, there's no way. And, like the whole thing with Dark Side of the Moon and Pink Floyd, if anybody out there is a Pink Floyd fan, all of that stuff was done in the year 1972. Dark Side of the Moon, Lunatic, the song Money. Well, 1972 is when the money changed. The song Money comes out, the song Brief, Us and Them, all this stuff in the year 1972. So even the music was connected to what was going on in that year. And it's just not possible, guys, for that many artists to all know what's going to happen in that year and to write music for that year, specifically as those things are going on. Like, it's just not possible because of the odds are against it. You have to look and say, hey, there's something going on. And it's not 1, 2, 3, 5, 20 things. We're talking about, I have a list of 80 things that happened in 1972 that should not have naturally occurred all together in one year.
Mm-hmm. I have one comment to make about your the reptilian and you're surmising it's maybe from space, but I do know from what I've been studying, there's a very good possibility that there are terrestrial reptilians just living underground that are every bit as wonderful and nice as the draconians. I'm speaking in jest, of course, but they might be homegrown. You know.
Okay, so here's what I want to say, and this is where I'm going to become the enemy to everybody listening. And what you guys got to understand is the only way that you can ever move forward in anything that you want to do where you have an opposition, you need to understand your enemy. So you're probably going to view me as the enemy here, and that's fine, because even my birth and everything with me being here, I have constantly been on my own. Being a biracial kid growing up down south in Florida, I had to fight the white kids and I had to fight the black kids. It was constant all the time. There were black kids that hated me and there were white kids that hated me. Every once in a while, somebody tried to reach out to me and try to be a friend, but they got peer pressure from both sides. So I literally have been pretty much alone in this journey my entire life, which has given me a neutral position to understanding both sides, right? And we're going to talk about the reptilians here, and you're going to understand. I need people to understand my psyche and where I come from. I believe that, and people are going to probably hate this too, I believe you have the right to be a racist. That's your right. If you don't like me because I'm half black, you have the right to say, hey, I don't like you because you're half black. If you don't like me because I'm half white, you have the right to say, I don't like you because you're half white. And trust me, I get it from both sides. I've had black women say, you're not black enough. I've had black people tell me you're not black enough. And then I had white people tell me you're too freaking black. So being in the middle, I mean, nowadays we see there's biracial people everywhere. But growing up in the 70s and in the 80s and in the 90s down south, and I even dealt with busing and everything down there, you know, I literally grew up, you know, in a neutral position where I don't hate both sides. I had to learn how to understand them. I had to learn how to understand why they were the way they were, why I was alone on this journey with being raised by a mother who literally hated me. You know, a single mom who was a lesbian who hated men. I mean, imagine that. And every day she came home and she beated me. She hated me. You know, it was, I literally grew up in a life of war. Like my life was war. I mean, that's just what it was. It was always constantly warring at school and stuff. And there's a lot to it, guys. And I don't really want to talk. And I'm not giving you guys a hard luck story, because as I became a teenager, I became a very, very popular person because I got really heavy into skateboarding, because that's a very soul thing where you're doing it alone. And through that, and then I went on to become pro, and I skated for 4 companies and did a lot of stuff with that. And I, you know, got into martial arts, and then I got into acting, and I did bodybuilding. And so I've done a lot of things, and I've had a lot of things like flourish for me, a lot of really cool things that happened for me. You know, went to Burt Reynolds School for two years. But anyhow, I'm not going to give you the whole gist of my life, because it's really not that important. But what I need you to understand is my position, where I'm talking from my point of view when we talk about the reptilians. Yes, there are reptilians here. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, a lot of people are going to hate this. They're not going to want to hear this. But you had the crustacean era, and then after that, you had the reptilian. You had the Jurassic era. Yeah. Well, you look at raptors. And if you change that structure, and you change a raptor structure of a angle of a 90-degree angle creature that's running forward with its head pointing forward, and imagine that creature standing upright. Mm-hmm. Now what do we have? We have a humanoid looking reptilian being. Okay, so if you change it, just slightly change it, then you have it looking slightly different. So it's very possible that the reptilians were here long before the humans were. They were here long before they were. And then when the humans came, you know, then there was the ice age, and the reptilians had to go underground, which probably was weather warfare, by the way. And then they went underground. And when they resurfaced, all of a sudden now you have the warm-blooded mammal age. You have the woolly mammoths, you have the big cats, you know, the saber tooth, and then now you have these humans that are here. So yes, it's possible. I do believe that there are reptilians here. I don't believe that the draconians are from here. I'm pretty sure that they come from somewhere else. And yes, there are draconians here now. I just recently found the whole thing on the Jersey Devil just about a week and a half ago, and it just it blew my mind because I've been looking for the same footprints of what happened in my school, and come to find out that there's a thing called the Jersey Devil, which they had the same footprints on the roof, and they said, and they talked about the story of the Jersey Devil has been sightings of that for over 100 years or something, and they say that it has a reptilian tail. And it has these big, gigantic bat-like wings. Okay, so and I see the footprints. I'm like, that's draconian. Just recently, I was just even looking into more of the gargoyles, right? Like, where does this idea of gargoyles being put up on top of buildings to help ward off people from coming to your building, right? So if people would see these big, shadowy, that looks like a reptilian there. Looks like it was made out of Skittles.
Yeah.
Taste the rainbow.
A quick drawing I drew.
It's a taste of rainbow. But you look at. I think that the problem is everybody wants there to be polarization, just like we do in the politics. Everybody wants to say all the reptilians are bad. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. If the draconian that came to me was a bad entity, it wanted to hurt me, it would have hurt me in my sleep. It would not have unlocked my brain. It would not have put this message out where I see the 1972 and I'm trying to unlock other humans' brains and try to share with them, look, this is what's going on. Something has happened that's blocking humans' minds. Look at the pyramid. Let's just go to the pyramid. It's on the freaking dollar. Why is the pyramids on the dollar? Everybody has all these different, these different things that they say. Well, here's the thing. We know that nobody really knows exactly how the pyramid was built, right? So if it's a mystery and it's a block in your mind, it's on your dollar. In God we trust, and pyramids on there. There's things that are put there in our faces to show you, as a human, you will never know how this has happened, because your mind is being blocked. There is a frequency that's blocking your mind. I don't care what people think. Look at HARP. HARP is about frequency. I've been doing a lot of study on frequencies and how they're using it to change people's minds and alter people's minds. And HARP is one of those things. You're telling me that humans can do this, but advanced alien species aren't way ahead of the game? They can really manipulate and make everyone not see things that are there, or manipulate and change things in people's minds, or put a block in your mind. In other words, if I say, hey, look at all this stuff that happened in 1972, and you run the other way because you want to find other excuses or X, Y, and Z, instead of saying, you know what, this is kind of weird. Let me investigate in that. What is going on here? I need to take a look at this. People don't tell me I need to take a look at that. I need to see what the hell is going on. What are you talking about? Why is all this stuff happening? They just won't do it. And that tells me that there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the human race. Something has happened that blocks their minds for them not to see clear evidence. Far too many things. In a court of law, this is a smoking gun. It's fingerprints all over the crime scene. Mm-hmm. Yet people won't look at it.
Well, they haven't heard about it yet. And that's why I'm having you on here. I think it's very interesting thing. You have this 1972 2020 connection. I think is very, very interesting. I lived through 1972, and the 70s were very weird. I mean, I did not like the 70s. I couldn't wait till they were done. But yeah, a lot of things happened in the early 70s, and then it started to not happen. It seemed like, yeah.
Weird time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very strange, bell bottoms. Yeah.
But everything changed. That's why. Hey, 1010, are you still there? I think we lost her.
She looks like she logged out or she's gone. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to go through a rundown on some of this stuff in 1972?
Sure. Yeah. Let her rip.
Okay.
She's back.
Oh, 1010, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. We thought we lost you.
So before I go through the list of 1972, do you want to go over some of the numerology stuff with you and explain to them birthdays and things like that, the stuff that you discovered with numerology?
Yeah, I can touch on a little bit of it. Can you hear me?
Yep. Go ahead.
All right. So after I discovered 1972, just kind of went like on a whirlwind of numbers, I guess, and how there was one particular number, 172, that stuck out. And I know that started with RatX when you went to Alcor. And also, it actually started with 172 spontaneous abortions that happened in 1972. So that prompted the correlation between Alcor, which there was 172 cryogenically frozen people. And if you need more information, it is public knowledge. You can go to their website. And also that the axis rotation, it rotates 1 degree every 72 years. So that was something interesting. The census records for the account of Americans
Sorry about
is
that.
1 every 72 years. That's okay. That's the census records for the account of Americans is 1 every 72 years. So chapter 172 code of the primary of elections, you can look that up also. Also in the Muslim culture, it's 1 man for 72 virgins, excuse me. And also there was 1 language prior to the Tower of Babylon, or the Tower of Babel, I should say, which 72 languages came after that fall. And you can find all this information using Wiki or going into Google. 6 foot is 72 inches. And when a person dies, you bury them 72 inches under 6 foot of dirt. So there's just a few, I mean, you could probably go on. And there was something that I learned about yesterday that was passed, and a lot of people are probably familiar with this already, but the Violence Against Women's Act, it was 244 to 172 in votes. So 172 Republicans, it doesn't really matter. It's the number that's important here, voted against the Violence Against Women's Act. So the significance of this number, if you take time and you look it up, you can see that there's something, it's like a fingerprint, of a time hack, similar to the Mandela effect. And I know I was talking to you earlier about this, Aaron. If you go back, if somebody time hacks or time travels, it changes the course of history. And how I look at it is something happened in 1972, and why constantly am I seeing 172 or 72? It's like a fingerprint. It's like a mark, similar to people remember the Bernstein Bears when it's the Bernstein Bears, or vice versa. For me, it was Chick-fil-A. I always thought it had a K, but apparently it doesn't. It ends with, it's CHIC, and that's a Southern food chain. I'm not sure if people are familiar with it or not. But it's just small things that played a significant role in someone's life. And when you look back on it, you say, well, this is how I remember it. And a lot of people remember certain things, and that's not how it's presented. So if you take the time, sorry.
That's all right. I want to cut in 1 second on the Mandela effect.
Sure.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways to explain the Mandela effect. One is we're in a simulation, and that there's something wrong in the simulation. That's the reason why we had the Mandela effect. Things are different because the program's written differently. The other is that a timeline has been messed with. Okay, so most people agree, because they've seen in plenty of movies, that when somebody goes in time and they screw with time and you change one thing, it ends up having a ripple effect in time. So if 1972 was a time hack, that an alien species crammed a whole bunch of stuff in 1 year that should not happen, in 1 year, but, they put it all in 1 year, well, it ends up having a ripple effect and affecting other things. And this stuff is all like new, right? It's not, but pre-1972. It's after 1972. You know, the whole thing with the monocle and the Monopoly, there's no way. I'm sorry. There was a monocle on that dude. I know people had that tattooed on them. Yeah. We could stop right there. You know, we can begin and end right at the monocle because we know it was there. So what happened? I don't go down the rabbit trail of the Mandela effect like a lot of people do. We know it happened, fine, whatever. You can look for millions of things. Maybe Tylenol is spelt differently or something. I don't even care anymore. I just want to know why. I don't care about the symptom. I want to know what the cause was. And the cause was either we're in a simulation and things are written wrong, or time has been manipulated. And I tell people, please look into all this stuff in 1972. It was a time hack. It's a freaking smoking gun. That will give you your answer of what happened and why the Mandela effect is. Otherwise, what other point in time do you think that they manipulated time? Maybe you'll see like one or two things. I'm talking about a major list of things that began or ended in that year. Not things that were ongoing, but began and ended. We're talking about points of reference.
We just got a message from 1010. She says, I've got to head out, guys.
Oh, okay. All right, 1010.
Thanks, 1010. Thank you for your input. It was awesome stuff.
Hey, what's up, everybody? RatX here, the one from 72, the ultra neutral. And today I'm actually speaking with my lovely boss who's actually from Germany. And because she's from Germany, it's forced me to learn more about German culture and the German language. So I'm going to call her actually Bossine, because you'd be surprised to know that the word for boss, for a male, is just boss in German, and for a female, it's Bossine. So like she's bossing me around all the time. However, she's been a wonderful boss, and it's not me buttering her up. I just love working with her. She's very consistent about things, and that's the main plug that made me want to stay here at this house, is working with her because of the consistency, because of the way she is and how she handles things. So, guten Tag, Bossine.
Guten Tag.
All right, so you're actually from Germany. Like, so can you just kind of walk us through like your early childhood and kind of like, you know, you don't have to tell you exactly how old you are, but, you know, just kind of walk us through, you know, your steps in life from getting from Germany and coming here to America, and how you ended up at Wright-Patterson Air Base.
I lived in Germany when I was a child, and my mother married my stepfather, and we ended up moving to the United States when I was 12. I could not speak any English, and I learned the English language in 1 year. Went to the school, could not understand what they said, but went through it. My father, he got stationed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and I went to school there. I graduated from Baker High School. Then I got married. I met my husband at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and also I got divorced at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Holy smokes, that's a lot. That's a lot to unpack. So let's just go back real fast. So when you were born in Germany, correct?
Frankfurt, Germany.
Okay, and so your parents would have been around the time that the World War II was going on?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so your parents kind of were escaping that, and they came here to get away from that?
My mother's German. My father, he was an American GI. He's my stepfather. I have no idea who my real father was, so I only knew my stepfather as my father.
Okay, so your stepfather, was he in the Air Force or was he in the Army?
He was in the Air Force.
And he was in the Air Force, and he met your mother in Germany, and he was just like, we're going to get you guys out of there, and then he brought you guys here to America.
Right.
That's awesome. That's an amazing story, guys. That's amazing. It's really amazing because it just so happens the way things lined up that I actually ended up working here with her. I actually worked at a few other houses, but this is the one that I really gravitated towards, the one that I really enjoyed working at. And so it's just with everything, the way things are playing out, and the fact that she lived, you know, her father, you know, was stationed at Wright-Patterson Air Base. Then she went to school there and pretty much grew up on Wright-Pat, right?
Right. I had my son there.
Yes.
When I got married, met my husband there.
Mm-hmm. And so how long did you, so in the entirety time that you were at Wright-Patterson Air Base, how long do you think that you were actually there from the age of 12, which there's that number 12 again, guys, from the age of 12 up to when? So how long do you think that you were actually spent time on Wright-Patterson Air Base?
Probably from age 12 to 18, and then from 18 to 22.
You had a whole decade of actually being on Wright-Patterson Air Base.
Correct.
That's amazing. Now, did you ever hear anything? And I know you don't have to give away any confidential stuff because I know your father was stationed there, your husband was stationed there, your child was born there. But did you ever, in the entire time you were there, did you ever hear any kind of like, anything was like any type of phenomenals, any type of anomalies, any type of like, I'm just going to say it, alien stuff, UFO stuff at all? So reason why I bring this up, reason why I say this is because everybody knows by now that Project Blue Book was actually came out of Wright-Patterson Air Base, which was the whole study on UFOs and everything. And everybody by now pretty much knows that when the Roswell crash happened, that's where all the stuff was taken to, was Wright-Patterson Air Base, because Area 51 simply did not exist. So that's the reason why I'm asking you this, because you were there for a decade. So did you hear anything at all, anything like any type of like talking or people said anything about like maybe like some UFO stuff or any type of alien stuff, even if it was just kind of joking around? Did you hear anything at all?
We talked about it, jokingly, but nothing was ever really proven, but we talked about it.
So yeah, so it's just kind of like one of those things that did come up, but it wasn't, nobody
like
ever...
a joke.
Yeah, nobody took it serious.
No.
But things did, every once in a while, maybe something came up and somebody said something about UFOs or something like that, or aliens, and it's from what you gathered when you're on Wright-Pat, just everybody's kind of blew it off as kind of like a funny joke type thing.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So there you go, guys. That's really important information, right? Because now you're kind of getting more of the story of what's going on at Wright-Patterson. And now that disclosure is happening, things are coming out that even people who live there on the base, like, the boss scene here, like who just lived there for a decade, there's just not going to be open discussion, open talk where people are going to take it serious when they were there about UFOs and stuff like that, because that wasn't really the mood, that wasn't the tone, that wasn't what was popular. What was popular is to just kind of blow it off because people are just not going to share that type of information. So it's going to be really, really hard to get anything coming out of Wright-Patterson Air Base about UFOs or alien technology. Would you agree on that?
I agree.
Yeah. And did you see anything at all that was any kind of like any weird stuff when you were out there? Like, did you ever like one time say, that is kind of weird? Like, did you ever see anything like, because I know that they did a lot of experimental flights and stuff out there, and you were there for a decade. Did you ever see anything that you kind of thought was kind of strange?
No.
I mean, the government's not going to come after you. You could just go ahead and say it. Yeah, if you did see something that you thought maybe...
I've never seen it. We've talked about it. My husband joked about it. But I never seen anything that would make me think that I seen an alien.
Mm-hmm. But your husband, he joked about it. He actually has talked about it, but it was just kind of joking.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did your father ever talk about that stuff at all either, or no?
No.
Okay, so just kind of like your husband. So your father, he probably would never talk to you about it anyhow. Maybe he'd speak to your mom or your...
Oh, my father, he was only enlisted. My husband would have more information because he was an officer in the military. But, secretive, you can't talk about certain things. And that's what he would tell me. There's things I can't talk about. So I never really questioned it.
So how high up a rank, I mean, you don't have to really give complete rank, but how high up a rank did your husband actually make it in the Air Force there?
Lieutenant Colonel. They have like a low ranking, like sergeants, airmen, first class. No, he was a lieutenant colonel. He was up there. He had a lot of information, but didn't share anything he wasn't supposed to.
So, okay, so wrapping this up. Now, the thing I want you guys to understand so that you guys know that, like, I don't plan things out. Like, the very next day, so like you came into work and I said, well, I'm going to Wright-Patterson Air Base this morning. It was like, I didn't even plan it out, right?
Exactly.
I was just like, hey, I'm going to go to Wright-Pat. And you're like, hey, I know Wright-Pat.
Yep, been there.
Mm-hmm. And I had no idea that you actually had so much background at Wright-Patterson Air Base. I just was like, hey, I'm going to go there tomorrow, or I'm going to go there today. And you were just like,
Yeah, I've been there. Lived it.
That's pretty amazing. Well, I appreciate it, bossing. I like it when she bosses me around, bossing me around. You know, she's a wonderful boss, and I can't thank her enough for the stuff that she's done for me on this job, and just the experiences that I've had working here with her, and as well as you guys already know the type of nature that I do and work here, and as well as martial arts. And it's been a wonderful experience, and I really appreciate you doing this interview with me.
You're welcome, and you're a great staff.
Yeah, see that? I'm a great staff. All right, so here what you're looking at is we are just leaving the airbase. Like this is the last stop that I could make to go to the airbase. This is it. It says lane to the left, and we can get right back to the airbase, which will take us back to 444, right? Well, that very moment that I passed that last chance to go back to the airbase, because I'm just like, no, we're leaving, I look at the clock, and it is exactly 444. So you can see that there because I screenshotted it, so that you can see there's the route right there. Stay on 70 or take 270, and you can see like right up there where you can go off onto 675. That'll take you back to 444, because that takes you right around, takes you right back to Wright-Patterson Air Base. That's exactly where that's at. And you can see I screenshot it. That was 444 when I left. Now, when we got like about an hour and a half later, when we finally got to stop, I was listening to a program. I was listening to Coast to Coast, actually, and it was live, and there was live chat going on. And they were just talking about the Roswell crash. And you can see right there on the picture, you can see the alien head up there and stuff. And as soon as I heard that, and as soon as I put it on, I was like, I'm going to leave a message and say, just left Wright-Patterson Air Base an hour ago. And you can see where I wrote that an hour ago, right? Well, then if you look right there at the chat, it says top chat, says I am chat number 444. So it just played out through the whole day with that 444 stuff. It's bizarre. And like I said, obviously 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. And I talk about that also in the video, which you guys already saw. All right, guys, and enjoy the rest of the video. She's been a friend of mine for over a year. She's actually helped do some of the research on some of the things. And over the past year, we have been, just talking, hanging out. We'll go out to lunch and stuff like that. And, and I tell her like a lot of this stuff is alien stuff. And a lot of times I kind of get the feeling that she just thinks a lot of it's just bullshit, to be honest. And I'm just saying that honestly, because she's definitely has like put me to the test on like when I say, hey, this thing happened, and she just gives me like this, like, yeah, that's bullshit. So I have to like not try to convince her, but just say, hey, look, here is the evidence, and so it's not easy to get her to actually do this this interview now. And you're gonna hear some background noise because we're in a park, so I apologize for that. But how you doing, Capricorn lady?
I am doing great.
So when I contacted you, it literally was like I said, hey, tomorrow I'm going to go out to Wright-Patterson Air Base. Do you want to go, right? Like, it wasn't like we planned it out for like a week or 2 weeks ahead of time. It was like the very next day, and you just said, you know what? I'm going to call off work, and I'm going to go ahead and go. You want to tell that story?
Yeah, so you had called me and said, hey, I think I'm going to go out to the air base. Do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I guess, I need to take a break from work anyways. So then we ended up going the next morning. Actually, I don't think it was even 24 hours later. So over time, since me and you've been hanging out, like, you've noticed some anomalies, some weird things that's happened with me, like some things that I remember one time you're like, are you controlling reality? Like last year when I thought maybe it's a possibility in a simulation. I was telling you about a song, in fact, about a song from The Doors, and I was telling you about a specific lyrics in that song, right? Do you remember that? I do. Yeah, I remember that very well. So then, like, the more we started hanging out, I would notice, like, if you were talking about something, and then it would happen. So that time that you're talking about, we were on our way to go get something to eat, and we were talking about one of the songs by The Doors. We were talking about Jim Morrison, I'm pretty sure. So anyways, right after we got out of the car, we went into the restaurant, and, they were playing The Doors.
And they were playing, they weren't just playing The Doors, though. They were literally playing the lyrics that I was just explaining. Remember, I was like, this is what that song is about. And you're like, wow, I didn't know that. You're like, that's weird. It was because he says break on through to the other side, and it says about taking a woman's virginity.
Yeah, and I had no idea, and that was the song they were playing as soon as we walked in. Yeah.
And then, as soon as we walked in, they were playing that specific lyrics. That's just some of those bizarrities, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's happened a couple other times too. I can't really put my finger on, like, I know it's happened a couple of times.
One time we were talking about Prince, I remember that, and we were on the phone, and you were at work because you do same type of work as I do. And we were on the phone, and we were both at work, and I was talking about Prince, and I was talking about something with Prince, and you flipped the channel.
And Prince was on. Yes, I do remember that.
And that specific thing that I was talking about with Prince was on.
Yeah. So recently, when we went out to the airbase, we were driving away from the airbase. You had done your video and we were driving away, and we had gotten off of the road where the airbase was. There was a sign for Route 44 to go back towards the airbase, like if you were to get on, another highway and go back. And right when you said, oh, it's like our last chance to go back, you looked at the clock and it was 4:44. And the route that it's on is 4:44.
Which is funny because when we first pulled up to the airbase, and we didn't plan it out to be that time, right? Like, we didn't plan it out to be there exactly at 4:44. There's just not possible.
There was no way to plan it because I had brought my new puppy on this trip with us. And, like, we had to stop so we could go to the bathroom. And it wasn't like we planned to be there at that time. Absolutely not, no.
And just so happens we just got there at that specific time. And then when we first got to the airbase, guys, when we first got to that 444, I told her, I was like, oh, that's my number, 444. And she goes, no, that's my number.
No, I said, that's my number. And you're like, no, that's my number. I was like, it was my number first. What do you mean?
And so we had this whole discussion over the number 444. Like, that's what we were just talking about. We're like, no. I was like, well, this is why I said this is my number, because I used to see it all the time. It kept coming up, and one of my students told me about it and said it's an angelic number. And you just went into this whole thing of like how that number pops up for you a lot too.
It does. I've always had 4s.
And it's just bizarre because when we get there, it's on Route 444. And then as we leave, and it's like we have one last chance to go to Wright-Patterson Air Base, and I point that out. And I was like, oh my God, look what time it is. And it said, right there on the van, on the clock, it said 444. And I screenshotted it too to prove that, it was 444 as we're just leaving, to where there's no way back unless we went all the way up the highway and turned around and went back. And then the other thing was too, remember, like after we left there and then we went to go get something to eat, and when our very first stop that we made, I had just got a notification on my phone that told me that I don't know which one of the other platforms or which one of the other YouTubers was pushing a video out. I think it may have been Coast to Coast or something. But there was live chat, and they were talking about Roswell, New Mexico, or they were talking about the Roswell crash. So I specifically just typed in there real quick, I just left Wright-Patterson Air Base. And as I did, I looked up at it says your comment is number 444, and then I showed that to you, remember?
Yeah, so it was like 3 things all in that small time frame. They were all 444, so yeah.
And what did you think of that? Like,
I mean, what are the chances? That's what I always have thought when I'm with you, is like, what are the chances that all of this happens, like right after you're talking about something or you see something, and it just, what are the chances? Like, if you know anything about Capricorns, we're very down to earth. We don't believe in, like, me personally, don't believe in religions, don't believe in crazy theories. So that's why he said in the beginning that I think that he's full of shit a lot.
She's very skeptical.
Yeah, I'm very skeptical, but the more he talks and the more I see things with him, I always come back to, what are the chances that that's going to happen? And it always does. Like, it's always something like, what are the chances that that would have just happened? And, with the 1972, all of that, I mean, there's a lot of things that went on in 1972.
Which, I know sometimes you'd giggle because you would send me a text or call me and go, guess what just happened? And guess what happened in 1972? And you would teach. And so some of the stuff that I have on my list from 1972, guys, actually comes from her. Like, she literally has, the whole thing on abortions, and how many other things have you told me about 1972 that you schooled me on?
Yeah, so I was on my way to work, and there was a big sign in somebody's yard about how many abortions have been performed since 1972. And then, flipping the channel, and there was a program on about seals, and that was, the year that they enacted the Marine Animal Protection Right. And then I'm pretty sure the last time, is it the last time they took a picture of Earth from space?
Yeah, you were the one who told me that the last clear picture that they took from space of Earth was in the year 1972. So if you guys Google that, the last year that they took a clear full picture of Earth from space, it's either going to say 1972 or it's going to say like the one in 2017, I think. But there's a lot of people out there debunking those new pictures. Because the time that I think maybe like 2015, when they started showing like all of a sudden, oh look, we do have new pictures, it was right around the time that the flat Earth movement was just getting big, and like everybody kept saying the Earth is flat. So then all of a sudden they had to go into a campaign to shut all the flat Earth stuff down, and they're like, no, we have pictures of Earth. Here's some pictures in 2015, like all those years since 1972 to 2015, they just decided like just now they were going to start taking new pictures. So it's very debatable, because now with the CGI and how good things you can do with the Photoshops and stuff like that, you can clearly make up pictures of Earth and people wouldn't even know and just think that it's real. So it's very possible the last time there was an actual clear full picture of Earth was in 1972.
So I just want to say I wasn't like seeking any of this out. I would just, stumble upon it. Like just the number kept showing up. The more I would spend time with him, the more I would see the number. And yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm very skeptical, but it's just, what are the odds that all of that would happen in that year?
All right, and with that, I really appreciate you coming out and appreciate you giving your testimony. I know it's not easy. It's not something you really, really wanted to do, but you're just doing it for me because you figured, it's important to get out the information. Hey everybody, what's up? RatX here, the one from 72, the ultra neutral, and today I have the Cambodian dragon healer on the phone with me. Where I want to start is where I first met you at, which was at the Serpent Mound. We're going to start there. We're going to talk about how we met and what you were doing there. And then after that, I want to go back to your history all the way back to the beginning, all the way back to Cambodia.
Okay, sure. You just asked me, and I'll do my best to tell my story.
Okay, so when I met you at the Serpent Mound, and what are the odds? What are the odds, right? Like a person who had a draconian experience in 2017, who had his mind unlocked, who was pretty much guided to come out here at this specific point in time. What are the odds that the three people that talked to me is a Native American, a woman born in 1972 with dragon green eyes, and somebody who is from all the way across the world, who is from Cambodia, and is out here, and he does a healing circle, and he did it right as the serpent. He did not know. So that's what I was here for. I was here for that. That's why I think this is what was supposed to happen. Most people already kind of know my story. If they haven't seen the video, they can just go back and watch the first time that I went to the Serpent Mound on the Truth Quest. But they don't know your side of the story. So for you, what was that day like? Like, I know that you said that you planned to go to the Serpent Mound before then, but it just didn't work out. And just so happens that you made it out that day. How did that work out for you?
We've been planning for like over a year already, and it just, for some reason, that was the day, me and my wife decided, okay, let's just take our family and go to the Serpent Mound, and that was it, got there. I didn't expect much, just doing my blessing,
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened to notice you, and everything just kind of really eye-opening, and I appreciate you talking to me and ask all those questions, beautiful questions, and I'm at surprised, when you ask all those questions, and those questions sometimes I don't understand. You talk about constellations, you talk about this stuff, and I learned so much from you. Really learned a lot from you from that day on, till today, and I really appreciate all the things that you've been doing, and I just kind of want to put it out that the videos you've been doing, it's really beautiful videos, and I wish people can watch you, and it's really eye-opening, and I'm really amazed how much, you know, the work you put into. It's a lot of work, a lot of research. You know, it's just eventually people will kind of catch up, you know, and appreciate what you do. You know, and I do appreciate you a lot.
Well, I appreciate you too, and we're going to talk about that and how you taught me how to meditate and stuff like that. You have so much to offer, and you're so important part of this puzzle and bringing all these things together. I want to go back to when you first came to the Serpent Mountain. Like, you've never been there before. That was your first day, wasn't? Is that correct?
That was my first day. That was my first day, and you know, we just excited to kind of see what's there, and yeah, it was the first visit there.
Yeah, it was also my first visit too. So it definitely had to be a line for us to be there at the same time, because obviously if people watch my Truth Quest videos, they would have saw that there was a couple of times when I drove across the country and I said, I'm going to stop at the Serpent Mountain, and I never stopped. I never went. And so that wasn't really a special day really for either one of us. It wasn't like we planned it because it was a special day to be there. It was just so happened that was the circumstances that, oh, this is a good day to be there. And that's just so how we met.
Right. It's just, you know, I'm just amazed how it happened, and just, you know, I get to meet you, and you know, we kind of, you know, from that day on, we kind of build our friendships, you know, and it's really awesome, you know, and I appreciate everything.
Oh, you were an instant brother. The moment that we started talking and the connection that happened was just an instant thing. Like, there was something there that I knew that you had such an importance, and you were so important. And I'm like, I need to get to know more about him, his history. I need to understand where he comes from. I need to understand Cambodia. I need to understand those things. And because of through all of that stuff, like, you taught me some stuff that was like, made me understand my history and my roots, which is very bizarre because I'm not from Cambodia, but I am definitely connected to Cambodia and to Angkor Wat, which is, it's amazing because that you came into my life in that moment, and I came into your life, which when you went to the Serpent Mound, you were there doing a ritual. Can you explain to people what exactly you were doing before I told you about the constellation lineup? Like in the very beginning, when you started hitting the bowl and you're doing it, can you explain the bowl and explain the ritual and what all you were doing?
You know, it's you know, it was from the heart, you know, and me and my wife decided we could go there and do the offering. So we go there and do the blessing, just ask for blessing for you know, because as a healer, you know, me and my wife and I, we're healers. So the Serpent Mound is really close to our heart, you know, to the Cambodia. I don't know if that makes any sense, but there's some connection between the Serpent Mound to Angkor Wat, you know, and that's really hard to explain. But that's just my genuine feeling. So when I go there, I offer the blessing, and I ask, you know, for blessing people around the world, you know, to share the love, kindness, compassion, you know, yeah, and ask for healing. That's it. I've been, you know, do some kind of, you know, searching on about Angkor Wat, because after Cambodia, I don't know anything about Angkor Wat. You know, I don't know anything about it. You know, it's just I know I'm a healer. You know, but I am connected. I'm Cambodian. I'm a proud Cambodian. I know I'm proud. I want to show the world what I can do as a healer.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that too, in the fact that you're from Cambodia and how disconnected, how you don't have the information that it's so important about your history and your roots. Like, you figure that because Angkor Wat is such a big deal, it's such a massive thing that most people have no idea. It's like it's been covered up, and here you are from Cambodia. Angkor Wat is your home, and you are connected to this thing, and you had no idea. You're connected to, and then you taught me about that you guys are dragon people, that you're descendants from the dragons. We're going to get on to that. So let's get back to the day that we met. So then so explain the bowl that you have. Explain that singing bowl, the bowl that you use.
You know, that singing bowl is called a Tibetan singing bowl. And I learned from one of my, a friend of mine, you know, he gave me a book about a Tibetan monk named T. Sangrampa. I know a lot of people never heard about him, but he's a Tibetan monk that was originally from Tibetan. And he talked about, you know, vibration, singing bowl, how it helps and heal people. and I just kind of, I love the culture. I mean, it's so similar to Cambodia. If you look at, the history. So as a healer, it's very important for that, the bowl, singing bowl for healing.
Yeah,
so that's one of my,
for people who don't know this, right now they're doing a lot of research in sound vibrations and how sound was used thousands of years ago to actually heal people from the inside without actually having to do surgery and open people up. It's very barbaric how we do things. The human race just does not understand the capabilities of all the other stuff that can be done. And sound was used as a healing art. And so, yeah, you're correct. That's exactly what you were doing. So that day when you were hitting a bowl, at that very moment when everything lined up for me and I said, hey, I have to be there at 2:17 to see what was going to happen, and you were hitting that bowl, that's when I found the serpent inside of the mound. Yeah, it was right then and there. I found the constellation was, through the mound, and it's just not possible that the ancients would have known that without some type of draconian or reptoid influence to say, hey, this thing needs to be put here for this purpose. In fact, it's a good possibility the Shawnee may have been the tribe to maintain it and keep up with it, may have been there when it was built, but it's a good possibility that the Serpent Mound wasn't even built by humans.
Yeah, I just want to ask too. When we met there and you talk about this dragon, it's like I never said anything about dragon. I never talked to you about that. And how do you know about this stuff? So I never revealed myself about as a Cambodian healer, as a dragon healer, because Cambodia originally, Uncle Wat, we are the dragon people. And I was like, this guy told me this. How does he know that? I was like a little bit skeptical, and I was like, man, but then I realized, man, this guy's amazing. You're very knowledgeable. I was like,
and so I'm thinking by the time I get to the head of the serpent, it'll be a little after 2. So maybe I have to be there at 2:17, 1:72. It's just maybe that's why I need to be there at that time. And it's funny because I have to take Interstate 71, and that's what made me think about that. I'm like, 71, I was like, where's the 2? And I was thinking, you know what? It's going to be about 2 o'clock by the time I get there. I wonder if I need to be at the head of the serpent at 2:17. And maybe not. Like I said, it may not be anything, but it's just funny. It's just like the way things are. It's just, and it's a beautiful day. It's a real nice day. 72 degrees out.
I got defend this guy, because I want to learn, and it was like I talked to my wife. I said, how's it possible this guy, show me the dragon company? I said, what's he talking about? How does he know that? Because when we met there, I never tell you anything about myself. You know what I mean? So we kind of hit on from there. It was just like, we come home with a big smile, driving home. And it's like, how does he know all this stuff? I was like, how is that possible?
That's the point. Like, so when I was there, the entire time I was there were a lot of people that, well, there wasn't a lot, but there was quite a few people that were kind of coming and going while you were there and I was there. And the only people that talked to me, the only people were 3 people. Out of everybody there, people were just kind of walking around. It was a lady who was born in 1972 with dragon green eyes, and a man who is part Shawnee from the Shawnee tribe, which is where the people who were there to maintain that mound, and you, who is a Cambodian dragon healer. You're the only 3 people that talked to me. So it's all for purpose. It's all for reason. The entire thing was all just constructed. It's not, at this point, I definitely don't try to make things happen. I just let things happen, and they're just playing out the way they're supposed to. And that's the reason why you and I met. And when I told you, when you first came up to me and you asked me, because I didn't come to you, you actually came to me, and I was shocked because people don't talk to me, so you came to me and you talked to me. And you asked me, what are you doing? What are you looking at there? And I said, hey, there's this, when you were hitting that bowl, the constellation of the serpent is lined up perfectly on that mound. And I could see in your wife's eyes that her eyes just lit up, and like I could tell, like I could feel her energy of this power, this empowerment, like it's happening right now. And then I can see it for you. And at that moment, you decided you were going to continue a complete ritual and go around the entire head of the serpent. Do you want to explain that?
Like I said, it it's something that it's my feeling that what I have, if I have to do for blessings. So basically, I offer healing stones to the dragon or to the serpent mound, and ask for blessings and to ask for blessings to heal people around the world.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the thing is a lot of people get misconceptions. They think, oh, the serpent stuff is all bad, but you wasn't there talking about, defeat your enemies or anything like that. It was no negativity, nothing negative at all. It was just all about trying to heal everyone, heal the earth, heal the planet, heal all the planets, heal the animals. It was all this healing stuff that you were talking about.
That is exactly right. So when me and my wife would be say, as a ritual, but we heal people there when they walk through, the serpent mound there. We heal everyone there. And I remember my wife said, I think one of the couple was sitting there, and she asked him to meditate with us. And when I hit the singing bowl, and afterwards, I think she talked to him, and they said thank you. They felt the energy, and I was really amazed, and I was really happy, that they understand, what I was doing, and you understand what I'm doing. That makes me really, really happy, so.
Yeah, it's not like you're out trying to convert people and trying to say, hey, come join my religion or anything like that. You're literally just you're just doing your thing, offering healing, and people who come to you, they just come to you and they just say, hey, I need healing. I need, whatever that they need. And I've watched you when you invited me out to the Buddhist temple, and I watched you do a healing with somebody, and the lady came to you and she looked like she was broken on the inside. She literally was broken and she had a lot of pain, but then sitting with you, and it was like you were counseling her as well as doing your healing that you were doing at the same time. And when she walked away, she seemed like she was just healed. She just felt it. You could tell that the woman felt so much better about everything that, her future to come. Whereas when she came to you, it looked like her future was more in doubt than it was more, promising. And that's what you offered. You offered to help her heal, but you help people heal by making them heal themselves. Isn't that kind of how it works?
That is correct. And that's what we try to do, my wife and I. We teach some basic stuff, very basic meditation stuff to heal yourself, nothing complicated, So, when you watch me, I'm glad you observed me, because everybody has different problems. So when you come in, it's kind of more like you said, like counseling. But all this issue, and we resolve the issues right then and right there, at the booth. Unfortunately, I had to, use the temple as a kind of show us what we can do as a healer, and so that was really, really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Are you still going to the temple or no?
When they have some kind of ceremony, I would ask the monks that I can set up my tent there and do healing for free. I think they have something coming up, I think next week. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure what kind of ceremony they do. I'm just gonna really see how many days the ceremony is gonna do, and it's gonna be a lot of people or not. So I'm not sure yet, but it's possible I might do something next week. Especially with COVID, with what's going on right now, and possibly,
I understand. It's nice of them to let you come there. So what I want people to understand is when you're doing your healing and the stuff that you're doing, it's not like you're trying to tap into magic or tap into any type of spirits. You don't talk about magic or spirits or anything like that. You're literally just using sound and the power of self and trying to help them use their self to help through meditation to heal.
That is correct. My wife and I, we both, we do a healing, and she's, I want to give a lot of credit to my wife as well, too. She's a great, my other half, I'll call her. She does the blessing and everything. She's wonderful. So, yes, me and her, we join hands to help people with, what's going on today. It's really, going through difficult situations. So we're here to help them. Kind of find yourself. That's the main thing. Finding yourself, understanding who you are, and go from there. And once you understand who you are, that's just amazing. So
speaking of understanding who you are, let's go back to the very beginning. Let's go back to, because your story is just incredible. You have a very amazing story. I want you to take us all the way back to when you were born, like your parents, and then your life leading up through Cambodia as a child while everything was going on, while Cambodia was actually being bombed and attacked. And all the stuff with Paul Potts and everything was going on, and then when you first came to America. So take us back to your birth and your parents.
Yeah, I was born in Cambodia, and so when I was born, unfortunately, the war started, the Vietnam War started, and I was pretty much was caught, in between the war, and for me as a child, I don't remember much when I was born, but I remember when we had a civil war in Cambodia. But I think when the United States pulled out from Vietnam, and we had our own civil war, and then I remember that day, it was just chaos. And
how old were you then?
I was probably 5 or 6, possibly 5 or 6 years old.
Mm-hmm. And I remember you telling me, and this is amazing. You guys are really going to in for a treat with this. You do not know exactly the day that you were born. Is that correct?
That is correct. When I went back to Cambodia, I asked my mother, and I said, "Mom, do you remember my birthday?" She looked at me, with I don't know if it's, I'm not going to say disappointed, but she's like, "I'm sorry, I don't remember." And my father as well, I asked, "Do you remember my birthday?" You don't remember. So I'm not exact. I don't remember the birthday.
So it's a mystery when you were born, because when you were born in Cambodia, there was a war going on and things were chaotic, that maybe papers were not filed, birth papers on you. So you literally were just born and just brought into this world as a true free human being. And I mean that because if you're not attached to papers right away like we are here in this country, you're not truly free, because there you actually were born as a wild human being, and knowing that you're descendants of what is the white dragon. And for those of you who don't know this, if you pay attention to a lot of people, I can't say a lot, there's only a few people, and I'm going to tell you this too because you might not know this, there's only a few people that I actually believe that I see online that are telling the truth of anything about the Draconians, which is the dragon people, the dragon men. And one of the stories that keeps circulating around all the time is that the Draconians, who pretty much are like the ultimate beings in this galaxy, obviously we know the dragon mythology and stuff like that, but the main ones that are the highest royalty in the Draconian bloodline is the white Draconian, which when you tell me that you guys are descended from the white dragon, that is most likely the white Draconian. Because when I did my research on Cambodia, and being that you are from the white dragon, they said that it was a man who, it was a man's body that was also a dragon at the same time, that he was dragon man. Everybody thinks of dragons, they just think of like a big dragon with the big wings or this big beast looking creature, but the Draconian are a humanoid being that is a dragon person. It's a dragon man. And so when you hear the white dragon, this white, Draconian mated with a Cambodian woman, and that's where your people came from.
Right. That is correct.
It's pretty amazing. That's in your bloodline.
Sometimes, what I'm doing, I would say bragging, or, just, when what I'm doing now, healing, it's like a journey. I hate to say, hey, I'm a dragon. It doesn't matter to me. Like I said, it doesn't matter what religion, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to heal people, that's all. And that's our main goal, me and my wife, and it's something that it's not easy, a lot of sacrifices, but we love doing it, and when you came here and you watch us do the healing, we enjoy doing it, and not just us sacrifice, my kids as well too, sacrifice everything, and maybe that's something that is from my blood. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, this you cannot put any value to it, because when we do it from the heart, and I don't, you like you saw, I don't charge any money, when it comes to healing, because I don't feel it is right to charge somebody, something that's gift to me. So I want to give something back, and help the people,
You and I are definitely connected with that 100%, because I don't do anything when it comes to sharing information to try to get money. I don't ask for donations. I don't even ask for like, share, subscribes, or any of that stuff like that. I literally just want to educate the people and try to help them see what's going on. And you're doing the same thing, but your respects is you're doing it through healing, being a direct descendant of the white dragon. And I hear in your voice when you're trying to explain that, that you don't want people to get turned away from the fact that, they may go, oh, the dragon, so it must be bad. We need, the problem is there's only like one culture that really has made the dragon a bad thing. Maybe there's like two, but the rest of the world has embraced the dragon all over the world, all kinds of cultures. It's just that where we're at on the map here in America, that there's a lot of people who think that it's bad, but it's not, because obviously there's nothing that you're saying that's bad. There's nothing that you're doing that's offensive or anything like that. It's just people got to get past that stigma, because what you're offering is a very good gift to people by helping them understand how to heal themselves, instead of telling, come to me and pay me money and I will heal you. You're not doing that at all. You're not putting out an offering thing. You're not doing anything. You're literally just sharing how they can heal and how they can heal themselves, and then you just send them off, and if they come back, they come back.
That is correct. Like I think I talked to you a little bit. I talked to my wife about too, because I have to work, and take care of my 3 kids, my wife. And my wife stay home and watch the kids. So sometimes I think, should I just quit my job and do full time? How's it possible with people, my family? So, I don't know in the future what I'm going to do. So basically now I just do kind of part-time healing. Whoever I can, I can reach out, and whoever believe what I do, I could do. Be glad to heal them. But we don't know what's going to happen, what I'm going to do in the future. But we'll see.
Well, things are definitely changing fast, and people are not understanding what's about to happen. You keep doing what you're doing. I think that if you just keep on the grind, keep doing what you're doing, either this year, which I'm pretty sure the veil is going to raise this year, or it's going to be next year. And when that happens, someone like yourself is going to be an important part of the puzzle to healing a lot of people. Once things are unlocked in people's minds and their full potential is unlocked, your potential is you're going to be able to heal people in masses. And I think that it's most likely going to be, and you guys might think this is crazy, but I think it's going to be in your voice, because when I sat next to you and you were doing your own, I can feel this, like, it's just like what comes from you is different from your voice. Whereas when you're like telling me to do it, it's like, mine is nowhere near, I have nothing anywhere near as close as the power that you have in your voice. But what I have been doing, just so you guys know, and so that you know, because I haven't told you this yet, but every day I play the video with you doing the bowl and you doing the and every day I play that and I do a meditation, and I try to match my voice to the singing bowl. I try to match my tone to the singing bowl. And that's pretty much what I've been trying to do, and empty myself. But your voice is just powerful. When you do it, it's amazing, and you can feel it.
I appreciate that, really. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Do you want to explain, like, when you do the can you explain the to people, for people who don't understand that? Why you use your voice, why you make the sound that you make?
The is a natural vibration that heal people. It's the sound of the universe, universal sound. So let me tell you about So when I love Tibetan history. On my arm, I have a tattoo that says "Om Mani Padme Om," So that's Tibetan saying Om Mani Padme Om. But I kind of shorten it to Om, A-U-M, Om. And kind of as a healer, you know, with the ability to understand other healers. And I realized this Om is very, very powerful. And that was given to me. And I want to share that with the world. No, and it's not just for me, it's for us. Not for me, it's for all of us. So that Om belongs to all of us.
So when you do your Om, you're actually doing it for the entire earth, for everybody. So your sound, you're trying to project that into this earth, into everyone, to heal everyone by using your sound.
That is correct. You know, again, I want to credit my wife. You know, not just before we do any healing or any blessings. She's a wonderful, you know, sending her blessings, sending her the love, you know, everything to, you know, the people around us, people, you know, all around us, you know. So her blessing is very important to what I do as a healer. So both of us, we both join forces, you want to say that, to heal people around the world. You know, I've been doing healing almost 3 years already, and me and my wife, we started healing, especially from Cambodia. We speak, you know, my wife's the one that, she speaks in her native tongue, which is Khmer, or Cambodian. We've been doing 2 years, trying to, you know, give them a heads up what's going on with the world changing, you know, you need to help, you need to heal yourself. Now we've been coming out, kind of an opportunity coming out since, you know, with the COVID and all that, we don't have that much, you know, I guess opportunity to do that. So, so whenever that comes, we're gonna do healing. But yeah, we started as a healer toward Cambodia, but now, you know, I'm coming on live, you know, trying to heal anyone here. Actually, you know, not just Cambodia, but anyone here that wants to be healed. Be more than happy to help them and show them the way.
Are you going to start doing live chats where people can get on and you can do healings with them live from your home and they can do it from their home? Is that what you're talking about doing?
Go out.
Well, I mean, like doing live video chat. Like, are you gonna like you can go on YouTube and you can set up a live video chat where you can do meditation with that person live, or even a group of people. You can go live and set up a time, and then a bunch of people can go on live with you, and then you can do a mass healing that way and reach out to get to people through live chat on YouTube.
And you are right. I've been doing that as well too. You know, I have friends that chat that, you know, been doing connect with me on live, and they would call, you know, and chat. I still do that, you know, probably twice a week. I get different. I call them angels, my beautiful angels. They call me. We would do our healing together. Yeah.
Yep.
You are right.
I'm gonna put the link, guys, of his YouTube channel on, and I'm gonna put it up on the screen here so you can see it too. But I'm also gonna put the link on my channel so you can get directly over to his channel. You can watch for when he's going to be putting up live chat so that you can get on there and ask him questions. Like, you're open to any questions that people want to ask, correct?
That is correct. I'm open, you know, to anything. There's nothing to hide. So, yes, I'm not afraid.
And you guys do have a little, and I know you're not really out trying to sell stuff and things like that, but you do have a little store, a little shop of a lot of very cool things that people would just want to grab it all up. They just want to buy it all up because it's such, you know, amazing things like the bracelets and the necklaces and the stones, the crystals and things that you do blessings on every single day. You do blessings on these things so that way that they have healing.
That is correct. And our stones, we take care of our stones like our kids. And you know, like when we go out and do our show, when people touch the stone, they feel that energy. They feel that beautiful energy, the love, the everything. You know, they just take a minute to hold my stone. You feel a big difference.
But you're not trying to hustle to try to make money off the stuff. You're just like, there it is. And so I have to actually bring it up and say it so that way people know that you do have things if they want to ask to buy certain things. And I know that that's not your focus, but those things are available. You just kind of like, that's really not what's important for you.
That is correct. So, that is right. And I'm kind of in between of what I need to do. So that you are right about that. It's not important. It's when you receive it, you understand the value of healing, and that's what's important to us. And you understand what we're trying to teach you. It's not about me selling bracelet or me selling stone. It's about that I teach you about my healing, so understand it. And once you understand it, I want you to heal yourself, you, your family, your friends that you get involved with, and heal whoever you come in contact with. That's our goal. That's my goal. I want to share that. And like I said, something that's really, really simple. I don't want to make things sophisticated. Sitting, a couple hours of meditation. No, I don't want to do that. 5 to 6 minutes. Say your blessings, say your thank you, and sit down and feel it, the energy. And you ask, which is our Pramaya healing stone, which is us, to heal you. To give me, to show me the light. That's our goal.
Yeah, I think it's important that people should pay attention to what you're doing, because I have a very good feeling that when the veil does lift, guys, everyone's minds are going to be unlocked to different abilities for some people, but most everyone is going to share telepathy, a very mild type of telepathy. And once that happens and people are able to connect just through their minds, then you're going to start understanding, like people like him, the Cambodian dragon healer, who's using his voice as a healing property. When he's able to connect with a bunch of people through their minds and everybody uses their voice at the same time, there may be this massive thing that happens across the planet where everybody just does one big Om at once, and the whole planet has some type of a healing power for everybody and also for the planet. Just the sound of the humans just using this power. And there are people like you that are very special that are going to lead the way by using this voice and this voice power that you have. And like I said, when that telepathy thing opens up for the rest of the humans, that's going to really help connect. So it's nice. It's a nice start for you guys to kind of pay attention. Just go and check out his channel and see what he's doing and just try to understand a little bit. And he's not selling your religion. He's not trying to get you to do rituals or anything like that. Just go and see what he's offers and how he's trying to help you heal yourself.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And I want to add something here. And you are a wonderful person, and your research, your videos, it's so beautiful. I've watched them. I'm a big fan of yours, so I've been watching your videos.
Well, I'm a big fan of yours too, man, because you've helped me, because I've never done any meditation at all in my life, and I've had martial arts teachers try to teach me to do meditation, and I just never really got into it. But you changed my life from the moment I met you, and I understood that it was important, and then I understood once I went to your house to learn to do meditation, and it's changed me. And ever since then, I've been doing it. And yes, I do have that protection, and I do have this connection that's happening.
I just want to add a little more here. When we met at the Serpent Mountain, and you came over and watched me do the healing, and it's that connection that we have. I don't feel you as a friend. I feel more like a brother. You as a brother to me. So I'm so happy and so blessed to have you. As a brother, and helps me, a lot of things that I don't understand. And as a healer, you're always learning. It's nothing that hey, I'm the greatest healer, or I know everything. I don't, I'm learning as I go, and every person is different. When you heal someone, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful. That's something that me and my wife we love doing, and I'm looking forward to do a lot of healing in the future.
Well, brother, and you definitely are a brother to me too, and I think we can wrap this thing up. Before we go, okay, so help us understand how to say goodbye in Khmer.
Okay, I can make it easier. Lee Howie.
Lee Howie.
Lee Howie. Lee Howie.
Yeah, I did. I learned that before. Lee Howie. Well, my friend, and to everybody else, Lee Howie, we'll see you again here soon, and enjoy the rest of the time that you have left. Welcome. You can call me RatX, the ultra neutral, the one from 72. doing more and more research and more digging, it now is more apparent to me that we are in a natural reality dealing with an alien species that has hacked time. And because of that, they have left a huge piece of evidence, which is the year 1972, and how that year actually connects to the year 2020, and how I am the only person in the world that is educating people and bringing the message and was able to predict the election in 2020 through great detail, as well as other predictions that also came true that have to do with looking at the year 1972 and the time hack and how it affected the year 2020 and will lead us into civil war, as well as a galactic war that is clearly upon all of us that is coming down. And you'll see that evidence by coming here and looking at the evidence that I present. I'm also going to be teaching you things about how flying saucers work, things about different alien species like the reptilians, the Anunnaki, and about the Greys, because I myself had a reptilian experience where my mind was unlocked, and that is one of the great reasons why I'm able to present all of this knowledge, because up until the year 2017, when my mind was unlocked, not long after that, I was starting to able to see the holes in the reality, see all the connections of the things that were going on that led to a time hack, which tells us learn from them and push forward as humanity, and not to suppress one another and suppress our own species. So if you're ready to have your mind unlocked, if you're ready to receive the message that nobody else in the world is talking about, if you're ready to see the truth, if you're ready to understand and look at the evidence, then welcome to RatX Files.